in the morning. You got me up all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening. Wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again. Argue about everything. You are my darling. This kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day. I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay. We just gotta boom, bada boom, ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
Blue Henry's outnumber Blake Henry's by a large amount. At least 5 to 1. And that's in income. That's just income. That's not in sheer number of positions. So why is it that when you're owning a show, married that guy, and he built an empire? How many of her college educated, aka Delta, white collar? How many women today would skip right over George Jefferson? Do single, educated women have contempt or disdain for blue-collar men? I will say yes.
Told you that you can rise from the morass of your current situation? Who told you that you had to be a slave to the pain of your past? Who told you that you had to settle for mediocrity in this current culture called America? Who told you that you couldn't change your mind? Talk to me. Now's the time for empowerment. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm the coach of clinician. like button. Go ahead, do it now before I reach out into that screen and twist your hand like Aunt Esther. Hit the like button. Thank you.
Destroy.
All right, guys, we're about to start in a minute. We're going to have Obsidian Ali on tonight as we talk about something that's been on my heart and mind for a long time, as we talk about why are blue-collar men not venerated here in America, but not only society. I decided to call this show Return of the Mac because synonymous to a Mac truck, blue-collar men got to have the swag game of a Mac, but also the work ethic of a blue-collar man to get the love, attention, and respect of the typical modern woman. We're going to have a good show on tonight as Obsidian and I break this controversy, but also timely subject down. And so, guys, get your pens and paper ready. We're going to have a good show on tonight with Obsidian Ali as we talk about Return of the Mac. Let's do it. Hold tight. Hold tight. Let me get this, guys. We're going to get it. Hold tight. Make sure I got this thing going. Hold on. We're going to get it in a minute. Give me 1 minute. Let's see. All right, guys, we're about to do it. So let's get it. Let's get it.
Bringing it to you live once again from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green, where every day is Father's Day, and where manhood is part of hills and valleys, victories and failures, and whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause, only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. But before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles.
All right, guys. So we're about to start. We're about to get into it. Brother Obsidian, whenever you're ready, I'm ready, man. Let me make sure I text him back just to make sure he's in. Hold tight, guys. Give me 1 minute. All right, hold tight, guys. All right, guys. Return of the Mac is the blue-collar man not honored and respected here in America. And I think it's safe to say that they are not honored and respected. And because of that, men are beginning to learn new game as it relates to the modern woman. So Asid's going to be joining me in a minute. I'm waiting on him. And in the meantime, guys, we're going to have a good conversation on the night. You know, being a content creator is taxing, to say the least, because you're trying to do so many things at one time. But I'm sitting, hold tight. The link has been dropped, so. Hold tight, guys. All right, so shout out to my man XL Pro for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, XL Pro. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your kindness, XL Pro. You always have been an excellent contributor to the stream on tonight. But the question remains, guys, the blue-collar Mac. The blue-collar Mac, he always is not getting the honor and respect that he deserves. Some would say that blue-collar men are actually lames. And this conversation is important because I talked about the lack of support for educated men on yesterday, but tonight's show we're going to be talking about the blue-collar pariah or the blue-collar lame, something that we see happening a lot in society where blue-collar men are not getting the respect. You can make a certain amount of money a year, but you're not getting the honor and respect that you deserve as a man. And I have a problem with that, guys, Because some of you men are hardworking men. Some of you guys are blue-collar men. You work hard. You got trades. Some of you guys make excellent money. But some of these women don't feel like you're worthy enough because you are not cultured or for whatever reason. So we're going to have a good discussion. Waiting on Obsidian. Make sure he got the link as we chop it up. So let me ask you guys a question to the ones that are listening. How many of you guys have struggled with getting honor and respect from the typical modern woman? And while I'm waiting on Obsidian, we're going to read through some of these comments. But how many of you men have dealt with women in these modern times that don't honor and respect you just because you're a blue-collar man? And I take great offense to it, guys, to some degree, because, my dad was a blue-collar worker. He grew up in a paper mill. He worked very hard. And my father grew up in a paper mill. And so many of you men that are listening have trades and you work hard, but once again, you can't get the honor and respect that you deserve because some of the women that you're dealing with don't feel like you are adequate. And I would say that's a problem. I would say that's a problem. But so somebody asked the question, my man Ben Sicko said that a man making $40,000 to $50,000 is in the top 10% of most foreign countries. Yes, and it's a problem when we don't honor and respect our men. So we got the man of the hour. He's in the house. Special shout out to my man Obsidian Ali. How you doing, sir, on tonight?
Doing pretty good.
Yes, sir, no doubt. Obsidian, tell the audience who you are, brother. You are a blue-collar worker, at one point, a Renaissance man now, to say the least. And I used to follow you in my younger years, a couple of years ago, and you always talked about you were the everyday brother. What does that mean to you, and what's your take on this topic about the blue-collar pariah that's now turned into the blue-collar Mac?
Well, yeah, I was talking about guys that and I've since had to really think this through. But I was originally talking about guys who may be blue collar in occupation,
right?
But have interests that go beyond that. They're curious. They're well read. They're cultured. They like the life of the mind,
right?
And in Black American life of late, and when I say of late, within the last, I don't know, maybe 30 years or something like that, there's something happened to where there's really not a whole lot of room for somebody like that.
Right.
So that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is Obsidian Ali, Mumuya Ali? I know you're from Philly. I believe you come from a very strong family. But who is Obsidian, and why are you so passionate as it relates to the advocacy of men and male empowerment?
I got started with the being credited with co-founding the Black Manosphere as we know it today, along with O'Shea Duke Jackson and the Angry Man.
Yes, sir.
Back 7 years ago. I got started because I used to hear a lot of Black women in what I refer to jokingly as the Black vagina vision media. So you would have the white mainstream media, and then you would have, on the Black side, Oprah. This was back when she was still on network TV. Oprah, Essence, and so on. And what they would do is they would always talk about how sisters that were accomplished, educated, and so forth had to mate down or had to date down because there weren't enough eligible brothers to go around. So I'm talking about the 1990s. Right. It really bothered me because, and this is going at the risk of sounding like I'm bragging, I'm usually better read than a lot of educated sisters are.
Yes.
You're not supposed to say that, but it's true. I found a lot of, and I'm not saying this is true of all educated sisters either, but what I am saying is that I got tired of being scapegoated for why this cohort of Black women were having problems on the mating market. Right. I would not find out until many years later that the truth of the matter is that there's almost parity between Black men and Black women on the college campus today. Black women still in total numbers outnumber them, but these ridiculous 3-to-1 ratio and all that, it's not true. The simple truth of the matter is that black women settle down later than white and Asian and Jewish women.
Right.
Black women believe in having their children first and having a mate second. Right. They have their first child between 21 and 24. They have their first marriage between 31 and 32. Now, for a lot of black women on the college campus, they don't make finding a husband a priority.
Right.
They make their education a priority. And I'm not here to tell every black woman they need to get married. What I'm saying is stop scapegoating brothers that you don't want to begin with to explain why you don't have a man right now. Instead, why not just simply say, you know what? I wasn't focused on that when I was in college. I was focused on getting my education, and when I was ready to settle down, the men that I wanted were taken off the market, or they just wasn't interested in me. It's nobody else's fault. It's nobody's fault. It just didn't work out. That's the real impetus of it. And I got tired of nobody speaking for me. And, we make such a big deal, and I think back on Dr. Jordan Peterson's recent interview with Piers Morgan, and he was brought to tears. He was talking about incels, and he said, "Wait a minute! I thought we were talking about giving the marginalized a voice."
Yes.
Where do black men like me have a voice?
Yes, sir.
Where are we part of the conversation? For all the talk about inclusion, diversity, all these buzzwords, I didn't see me.
Yes.
And so that's why I decided to do what I did. I wanted to show the world you could be a blue-collar brother and be articulate, exceptionally well-read and well-spoken and well-written, and make your case. And I'm saying to those sisters, who I'm naturally attracted to, by the way, because we share the same values. I find it fascinating, Kosher Clinician, the people of this class, because really what I'm getting at here is class.
Right.
Black people, it's a very sensitive topic to talk about class in Black America. So I would hear a lot of sisters say, they would use the word value. I'm talking about the educated college professional. They would use the word values a lot. Well, I share those values. I just don't come in the form that you want. But I share the same values. I share the same values of hard work. I share the same values of education. I just didn't go to the college campus to do it. I did it the same way John Henry Clark and James Baldwin and Frederick Douglass and Malcolm X and I did, and Harold Cruz. I taught myself. It just seems to me, I love using there was a TV show back in the 70s going into the early 80s called The Jeffersons. George Jefferson was a self-made man.
Yes, sir. He was.
But there's no space for George Jefferson today.
Right.
And I'm like, why? Because he shared the same values too.
Right.
I can respect if the sisters that I'm talking about just said, you know what? There's a lot of good brothers out there. I'm just not sexually attracted to them. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with the down low, nothing to do with brothers being gay, nothing to do with the prison industrial complex, nothing to do with not enough eligible brothers on the campus to go around, nothing to do with the brothers in blue collar I got to marry down. It's just, I'm not sexually attracted to the guys. That's all it is. Sisters can never bring themselves to say that. And there's a reason for it. A lot of black women have painted themselves into a corner.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons why the black manosphere has made so much ground, has covered so much ground, is because so many black women have painted themselves into a corner, and they cannot my bad, my computer. Okay.
Oh, you're fine, brother. You're all right.
Yeah, they cannot refute the evidence. So let's look at the down low. I mean, that was completely homophobic. I to this day, I'm livid that Oprah Winfrey was able to get away with it with rampant homophobia. The numbers of black men that are gay are in the single digits. It is barely statistically significant. And yet they're continually scapegoated for why these ladies are unlucky in love. Let's look at, like I said, blue collar guys. Again, if you don't pop to them or whatever, that's fine. Why they need to scapegoat them? Brothers on the college campus, we now know that the most successful white collar brothers are married to black women at a rate of 83%. 83%. I mean, sis, you didn't make getting these guys a priority. That's all it is. And I honestly believe a lot of black women didn't see this day coming.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. I totally agree with you 1,000% about that. Give me a minute. I'm sitting and read these super chats. I'll shout out to my man Ray Johnson for that $20 super chat on the Cash App. And Ray Johnson for your kindness. You are right now, Ray Johnson. You are the #1 sponsor of this stream. Thank you, Ray Johnson. Shout out to my man Top Gun. He said a little donation from the finest of finest, Blue Collar Max, and that's on ice with this bourbon.
It's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal.
But you know,
right?
I'm sitting. I call it the Blue Collar Mac, and we're gonna get into it. But I call it the Blue Collar Mac for a reason. One, the Mac truck, but two, the Mac. You know, you got to have Mac game to deal with the typical woman if you're not quote unquote a white collar man. So the blue collar Mac is a term I created called catwalk bougie. You know, you got to be catwalk bougie. I consider you catwalk bougie. That's a term that I created because catwalk means he can walk across the catwalk in construction, or he got the flair and the intelligence to be an intellectual scholar. Now, I consider myself catwalk bougie. I worked in blue-collar professions before I became a therapist. I worked in a chicken plant for 2 months. I worked in a potato chip plant, Eagle Snacks, for about 7 years. And I worked myself through the ranks and got 3 degrees. So I can identify with brothers like yourself. I consider myself catwalk bougie. I might need to coin that as mine and also, put a copyright to it. But I consider you catwalk bougie. But men got to have the je ne sais quoi of a Mac. But at the same time, he got to have the work appeal of a blue-collar man. What's your take on that sentiment and statement, brother?
Well, first of all, thank you for the compliment, catwalk bougie. I never thought about that.
Catwalk bougie.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I would say is this. I'm not big on trying to convince people. As a matter of fact, the older I get, the less inclined I want to try to convince people that there's a skein of thought in Black American society that we're about trying to, will out over each other. Some Black people just really get off on trying to, browbeat the other person down and all that sort of thing. I'm not really interested in that. My thinking is this: what I want sisters to do, because I get accused of this a lot. You're trying to get them to change. I just want Black women to be honest.
Right.
I just want Black women to be honorable. That's all. I'm okay with not appealing to thus and so. I'm good with that. I just want sisters to be honest. That's all. Stop telling lies about brothers like me. And for that matter, I will go. I'll take it a step further. Stop telling lies on gay brothers. I mean, come on. They're not the reason why you are where you are. You had an opportunity that the vast majority of people on the planet will never have.
Right.
You went to a university. You had access to the best of men.
Yes.
And you blew it.
They blew it. Right. And you know, I'm sitting, that's why I get so bothered. I did a show last night with Dr. Ronald Neal, Ike Ogiamian, Dr. Thunder, BGS. And we talked about why educated men are not celebrated, you know. And so, you know, I get very passionate, Obsidian, because, you know, there are pundits that say save the community, black man. And me personally, I'm not saving anything. My focus is me, for me. That's the fraternity I'm in, me, for me right now, because, you know, it's me, for me, Obsidian. And it's not because I have not been doing altruistic work. You know, I worked 10 years, 2 years as a mental health correction officer. I advocated for 7 years with the Department of Juvenile Justice. I'm a licensed therapist now, so I've done it all. I advocated for black boys for 5 years as a licensed teacher. And it got me really nowhere, you know, when I matriculated and went through the ranks of getting higher education and going to academia. I never got honor and respect. They never celebrated me for my accolades. And so it would be remiss of me to come back in the spirit of servitude to serve a community that really haven't given a damn about me, you, or anybody else. And you know, the thing that bothers me, Obsidian, when I was on your show the last time, I said this succinctly, that when it comes down to servitude, you want black men to come back and save the community. But when it comes down to power and advocating for black men, then, you know, you hear crickets chirping. That's why I said until they march and change the laws concerning black men. Don't ask black men to come back in a spirit of servitude, because we've been servants for so long. And we have falsely accused a large conglomerate of black men for the misgivings of a few. Yes, there have been irresponsible men that have been caused a lot of chaos in this community, but I would say to least it's not the majority. You know, I've seen women, I'm sitting when I went home a couple of weeks ago to go to get my dad a TV. These women have 4 kids by four different men, multiple kids by different men. But these are the same women when I was on my upcline, you know, I wasn't good enough. You know, similar to what my man Mike Jones said back then, that they didn't want me. Now that I'm hot, they all on me.
Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorite records ever. That's a very profound record. Oh, yeah.
They want you now, Obsidian. You know, after you work your ass off, you got your book, you got your swag game, you can't walk bougie. You know, you got that construction swagger, you got that bougie swagger as well. But now all of a sudden, the everyday brother, they want you to come back and get leftovers. And I got a problem with it, man. I don't believe in this static blackness. I don't believe there's a such thing as static blackness, that black men need to come back in mass and say something they have not given a damn about them. You know, like I said yesterday, you know, it was a celebration of black men. That stream should have had at least 200 people. But I knew it wasn't going to happen, because like Michael Jackson said, they don't really care about us. They don't care about the advocation and support of black men, because I believe, Obsidian, that they see us as a direct threat to their power base. What do you say about that? Let me read these super chats real quick. Shout out to my man Shorts Stacks. He said, I'm in need of that jet sound effect. Hit them with that cognitive nutritional therapy, feeding their minds. Shout out to you, Obsidian. I'll be signing up for a conference before at the end of the year, no doubt. Shout out to that brother, Shot.
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
And also shout out to Gregory Scott. He said, yes, black women have backed themselves in the corner. Why they have difficulty handling the passport SYSBM movement. And so, Shocks, I got something for you, dog. I was working on this, and hold tight, Shocks, because you have been asking me about that jet sound effect, man. And here we go.
I'm tired of America, so I'm hitting Richie on the net. I got the tickets, that's a bet. We need the link, my brother set it up. Damn, I didn't had enough. Ooh, I won't lie. Can I get a little shake with them fries? My skin tone is matching your eyes. Black men, you know we like them thighs. And baby, she can do it all. Your land is my land. Cut through.
Yeah, the blue collar Mac, the blue collar man is beginning to understand the Mac game now, Obsidian. They're getting their passports, and they say, I'm going to save myself, because I'm tired of trying to deal with modern women here in America that are hard-headed, they're rebellious, they don't listen, they like feminine demure. They don't advocate for their men, you know, making $40,000 to $50,000. You know, they look down, their noses down on blue collar men. And, you know, I'm offended by Obsidian, because my father was a blue collar man. He worked in a paper mill in Eastern North Carolina. He took care of 4 kids with that salary. And I get offended by it because, see, those women are nowhere near what my mom was. And the reason why I say that, my mom was a virgin when she got married, just like my grandma. And she didn't have kids by damn Raekwon and Man and Day and Shermite. All her kids were by my dad. They were still married 50-some years later. And what bugs me is that these women think that relationships dynamics are symmetrical, and they're not symmetrical. What a man wants in a woman is not necessarily what that woman can give that man if she's using power based on degrees to satiate his query. And it burns me up because you think look your nose down on a blue collar man that make 40 to 50 or even 100,000, and you say he's boring. But if that man say how many bodies you got, how many kids you got, do you got student loan debt, then you hear crickets chirping. They say you're judging me or you're misogynistic. What's your take on that? Because I said a lot, but what's your take on that? Because I believe the black men got a remedy, and the remedy is to save themselves and to go to countries where being a blue-collar man is not only highly favored, but respected.
Yeah, you said something a little while back about saving yourself. And I agree with that. It's funny. I'm going to go ahead and reference my friend Kevin Sanders.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And what's fascinating is that he got a lot of heat for what some black women consider to be, and quite a few black women, to be fair, consider to be, attacking black women, degrading black women, and so on and so forth. And they would say, you need to be dealing with the men. Well, that's exactly what Kevin did. He did it for 3 years.
Right. For 3 years, right.
Mm-hmm. There was no black women that were cheering him on from the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Black women don't believe that black men deserve praise.
Mm-hmm. Their
view is, if you're taking care of the bills at home, you're supposed to do that because you're going to do that anyway, whether I'm here or not. Mm-hmm. There's a view that holds for a lot of black women. They just don't believe in praising their men. They just don't.
They don't.
And my thinking is, why should you do so? A lot of black women really do think that black men are like charities. I was just talking about this on the Facebook the other day.
Yes, sir.
And I said to this ladies, we are not your personal 501c3 nonprofit. Mm-hmm. We're not a charity. We're just not. We're not community eunuchs. We expect to get something, man. And we have a right to expect something. There's almost a lot of black women will never just flat out say it, but you get this sense that you don't have a right to expect anything from them. And you're just supposed to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. For what?
For what?
Black men need praise. Yes. I say to the sisters, today's Sunday, 7 whole days have passed. When is the last time you have publicly praised a man?
Right.
When? In 7 days. Mm-hmm. For all the stuff that black women use social media for. When's the last time you saw a black woman using her social media to praise a brother?
Yes.
I mean, it's just like, it really does feel like, you're kind of like a public utility or something.
Right. No, you're correct. Dr. T.S. Johnson talked about the CompuServe, but I parodied that Obsidian by coming up with a term that I created. It's called the commodification of subjugation as it relates to solipsism. So basically, they cannot see outside of themselves, and black men are just commodities to be subjugated to at the behest of the mother queen. And that happens many times because they never seen true heteronormative masculinity in its rawest form. So many of our men have been browbeaten. They won't say anything. They won't speak up. But I'm not going to damn do that. And I'm speaking to the men that are listening. There's a king in every man. And if you got a woman don't honor and respect you as a man, just start coming with a damn exit strategy, man. I know it's hard to get out of marriages now, but just start coming up with an exit strategy to replace her ass until you can find a woman that's going to honor and respect you. Because I know it's hard, but if you work hard like I have in Obsidian and a lot of the men that are listening, if you've done everything you need to do, there are women from other countries that will love and honor you and respect you. They don't see damn cooking as a chore. They don't see cleaning the house up as a chore. They just do it because they love pleasing their man. And, Obsidian, Shirley Brown wrote a song back in the day. You and I, we young cats, we Gen X's. And Shirley Brown was a powerful woman. And I'm sure you remember Shirley Brown because you up there with that Philly soul, man. And, Shirley Brown spoke a lot of volumes back in the past. And this is what Shirley Brown said.
Now you see, I don't want no trouble now.
Okay, I want to be. Yeah, I'm having some technicality issues. But anyway, can you hear me? Can you?
Yeah,
hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, all right, hold tight.
Now you see, I don't.
Okay, yeah, this thing is acting super. Anyway, I'll get to it in a minute. Shout out to my man Shocks for that $20 super chat. He said, homophobia when it's convenient and cake for the alphabet when it's convenient. Also, as much as they accuse brothers of swirling, they in universities in corporate America, they got access to bread more than we got Becky. What's your take on that, Obsidian? Based on
I
what
agree.
Shock said.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
I'm sorry.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
I agree with what the brother Shock said. I think it's very insidious the way, and I want to be careful here. I'm not saying this is true of all black women, but the loudest voices in the room, I like to call them. The black women who are making the most noise in the legacy media and now in social media. I'll put it that way. So that way I'm not talking about all black women.
Right, sure.
Yeah, it's very insidious how they abuse gay folk, gay black men, to tell you the truth. How they engage in homophobia. If you're a black man and you don't have an interest in them, they call you gay. If you're a black man and you say something they don't like, they call you gay. They did this to Kevin.
Right.
Kid deals and all this sort of thing. And my response to that is, well, okay, don't be mad at Kevin because he beat you at your own game.
Right.
He's prettier than you, better dressed than you, better well-spoken than you, does the social media game better than you. I mean, there are a lot of black women who get very insecure about brothers who look better than they do. So, don't be mad because he understands fashion better than you. He's better well-groomed than you. He's better well-spoken than you. He pays attention to all the details in the studio and gets it right, pinpoint accurate than you.
Yes.
I mean, if we're going to play that game, it really bothered me that how many sisters online wanted to question his sexuality when these sisters are clearly masculine. And my thing is, I was listening to a brother earlier this morning, and he was talking about how brothers need to embrace the fact that a sister can be strong and independent, and you can, and that don't hurt you. She can have her own, and that don't hurt you. I said, no, brother. Anything with two heads is a freak. Where in the world you got two heads? You got a president and a vice president.
Right.
You got somebody that's on top, and everybody else is below. That's just the way it works around the world.
Around the world, right? You're right.
That down through history. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't women that can't run things. They can. The solution for them, because he was talking about, you got a problem with boss chicks. The problem that brothers who have done something with their life have with boss chicks is that they're not checking for boss chicks. Boss guys date down all the time. They date waitresses. Boss chicks need to get bus boys. That's what they need. They don't need a boss dude. See, a lot of boss chicks want a boss dude, and I know why, because it's hypergamy. They want a boss dude, but boss dudes ain't checking for boss chicks.
Right.
What boss chicks have to do is date down to bus boys. That's the solution for you. If you're a boss chick, boss dudes don't want to share nothing with boss chicks. They don't. And I can tell you right now, I'll just go ahead and say it. As a self-made brother, I got to have a sister that strokes my ego, among other things.
Right,
She's
exactly.
Got to be comfortable affirming to me who and what I am.
Yes, sir.
I need to hear her articulate the word Lord Obsidian. I need her to say that. If she can't do it, what are we doing here?
Right,
now, I get it. I'm not trying to force anybody to do anything against their will. None of that. Right. But I'm sorry. That's just how I go. I want to be affirmed. Now, for the sisters out there that are more A-type personality, God bless them, woman king type. Hey, do you? But it's not going to work for me. See, your thing can't be bigger than my thing. Your thing not come before my thing. You can do your thing, as long as it don't overcome my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not going to have a pissing contest here.
Right.
Your thing has to come under my thing. That's how it goes. If you want to be a sister and you want to call the shots and be a boss chick, get a busboy. That's the solution. But you're not going to get guys who got it out the mud, who did it by hook or crook and made something of themselves despite all the odds to want to be okay being a co-captain with you. Even the Avengers didn't have co-captains. When in the Avengers, when the Chitauri is attacking planet Earth and they all squad up, what did Tony Stark, Iron Man, say? Call it, Cap. He deferred to Captain America. Thor defers to Captain America. Thor, the god of thunder, defers to Captain America. Thor don't say, well, we gonna lead the Avengers together, Captain America. It don't work like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be the woman king, if you want to run shit and all that, great. Get you a busboy. That's the solution. Because dudes who got it out the mud, they rightly want to call the shots and have their ego stroked.
Exactly. And even the ones that did get it out of the mud, because, I've seen women in other countries, Pedro can just be a migrant farmer. And he still get a home-cooked meal. He still get a woman that don't mind working for him and taking care of the family. But, you got these entitled women now say, well, I can't do X, Y, Z because I can't rest in my femininity, which is BS in my opinion. Because the Proverbs 31 woman, she worked outside the home, but she still honored and respected her husband. Sarah called Abraham Lord. Like you said, Lord Obsidian. Well, Sarah called Abraham Lord. She called him Lord. But you can't tell these modern women they're Obsidian because, they're ducks. They're not swans. They're ducks. And I don't like dealing with ducks. I pluck ducks. I just get rid of them because when you try to talk to a duck Obsidian about what's right, many times they get in their feelings Obsidian. And many times they'll say this. Y'all already know what time. It's that time. What's up, y'all? You already know.
You're despicable. That's all, folks.
Yeah, you got to pluck a duck Obsidian because, ducks cause you a lot of distress and pain. And I'm sure you've dealt with ducks in your life compared to swans. What say you about the amount of ducks you've dealt with compared to swans that are feminine? Because even though ducks and swans are in the same family, swans have a feminine demure. They're very graceful and very elegant. And, Teddy Pendergrass said, all I want is peace of mind. He said it's so hard to find. And then Teddy also said it's good to love somebody and somebody to love you back. But men can't get that now. And it burns me up, Obsidian, like I said, a well-accomplished man like yourself, blue collar. You come from a strong family. You got a book that's a national seller on Amazon. You guys go check out the Book of Obsidian. It's a powerful book. I got to get me a copy at some point. It's been so busy. I got several books stacked up. I haven't read none of them. But when you hear that Obsidian, the lack of swans in America, what does that say about the culture in America? Because we don't have swans compared to ducks. Because there's a lot of ducks, but there's not a lot of swans. What's your take on that?
Well, it's interesting. I was just talking about Kevin and how there was a number of black women online openly questioning his sexuality, and it made me step back and look at the women who were doing it, and they would, to use your analogy, they weren't swans, they were ducks. Kevin was a swan, right. In male form, and these ladies, they're very masculine. They have a very masculine bearing. Many of them use salty language, 4-letter words, very loud, very combative, very shrill. Things. Some of them had, mannish looking haircuts, and so on and so forth, wide shoulders and all that. They were very mannish. And my thing is, okay, if he's, presenting as feminine, then that means you also presenting as masculine. And again, I say, get you a busboy. That's the solution. Why are you hating on the swan, brother? when you can just get you a busboy and call it a day. You want to run things anyway. Get you a guy that you can run. I mean, a lot of black women know, there's, and I don't know if I could do this on your air, so you tell me if it's okay. A lot of us don't understand BDSM. There are some women who are very dominant.
Right.
And that's okay. You just got to find a man that is more submissive. Find you a male submissive. That's the solution. You don't see a lot of the dominant sisters want to get with a dominant brother. Dominant brothers don't want dominant sisters.
They don't, right.
They don't. They want very submissive sisters. And that's an issue for a lot of black women. The submission, that's fine. Find you a submissive brother. But understand and remember to bring your checkbook when you do, because you're going to have to pay for it. Because submissive guys, by definition, ain't gonna have no money, no drive, no initiative. That's just how it goes. Men understand that when you make something of yourself and you have some nickels to rub together, you won't have to pay to get the kind of women you want. We understand that. We accept that. But a lot of women don't want to accept that if you're going to be calling the shots, you the woman king, you the boss chick, you got to pay for the guy you want.
Right.
That's going to be okay with you running stuff.
Right.
And then there are other black women who love the idea of, we make joint decisions together. Well, in the BDSM world, they call that being a switch. Sometimes you're dominant, sometimes you're submissive. You need to find a guy that's okay switching back and forth. See, I don't like to switch. I ain't into switching. I'm this is where I'm at over here. But there's some guys that's okay with that. Great. Get you a guy that doesn't mind going back and forth, switching from submissive today, dominant tomorrow. Y'all can switch back and forth together and be happy. A lot of these sisters want the dominant guys to bend for them, and that's not going to happen. It's just not.
Right. No, I totally agree. It's definitely not going to happen with me, man. I know you got that Sag swag. You're a Sagittarian. You're the golden archer, and I'm the king of kings. I'm a Leo. And, one thing I know about fire signs like you and I, and also Aryan men, they're very dominant. They speak their mind. They're very passionate. And my ego is too big to follow a woman. I am who I am. I demand what I want. And if you can't be what I need you to be, like they always say, you can take your ass home. Because if you work as hard as I work, Obsidian, I know if you work your behind off, you and I are closer to the same age. I'm 51, you 53. You realize your time on this earth is getting shorter and shorter. Our belly years are behind us. And you need a woman that can compliment you, a woman that's inspirational, a woman that's not going to be a stressor for your life. And, one of the things I remember you saying when I used to listen to your show and about 4 or 5 years ago, you said that everyday brother, that's who you are. But the everyday brother is a pariah to many in the community. Why is that? Is it because of classism? Is it because of ignorance? Is it because of narcissism, or a combination of all the three?
Yeah, well, the homophobia and the classism is something that has been allowed to flourish in Black American life for a long time, in large part because the main purveyors of it and perpetrators of it happen to be Black women themselves. They can get away. This is one of the classic double standards. They can get away with this sort of thing. If it was men doing it, if it was Black men doing it, they would, the boom would be lowered on them. So, that's been allowed to flourish over the past, 3 decades or so. And I think that the Black manosphere, they say nature abhors a vacuum. Something was going to come and fill the void. The Black manosphere, for all of its problems and warts and all, nevertheless, came back and acted as a powerful check on it.
I agree. Being blue collar is not enough. As I said earlier, you got to have a crisp mouthpiece. Being a blue collar man. What were some of your struggles, man, growing up in Philadelphia? And before you answer that, I want you to tell me a little bit about who you are. Your meteoric rise in this space, and this loaded question also: who molded you and shaped you to become the man that you are?
Yeah. Well, the easy answer would be my dad first and foremost, and then my granddad. They were both Marines. My dad served in career. I mean, he basically lied to get into the Marine Corps, and because he was more like 16 than 18. And my grandfather served in the World War II Montford Point Marines. I learned a great deal of what I would become to be from those two. But and then it kind of spread out from there. Other men, mainly black, but not always. Like a big inspiration on me was Rush Limbaugh. I used to my granddad turned me on to Rush Limbaugh when we were going to work, and be in the car, and I listened to him. And from there, I listened to Paul Harvey. And then when I was listening to radio on my own, I listened to Howard Stern. So a lot of these guys kind of rubbed off on me. Tom Likas is another one, kind of rubbed off on me. Tommy Sotomayor was a big influence in many ways. So I had a lot of different influences, but it started with my dad and my granddad. They would be the two biggest influences. Life for me in Philly was very interesting. When it came to the ladies, I like striking looking, cultured, educated sisters. No disrespect to the around the way girls, as LL Cool J would call them. I'm not out to, grind the axe against them, but we just don't click it like that. But the class piece in Black America is such that if you're a black man, you're kind of pushed to kind of, deal with those type of ladies. I got a lot of pushback from that. I've always been something of a controversial figure in my family because I always was seen as being too big for my britches, so to speak. Being too uppity, always thinking you're better than everybody else. And in a lot of ways, yeah, I do. I don't think it's a crime to be ambitious and to aspire. And I think for a lot of black people, that's very threatening. Even to this day, it's very threatening. I think so many of us are so used to mediocrity and so used to not being a raised nail that it's kind of threatening when you run across somebody who strives to stand out. And a big part of the I get told a lot, you're gunning out of your league, and my response to that is, with regard to the ladies, and my response to that is, well, if a man's reach can't exceed his grasp, what's a heaven for?
Right.
A lot of black men go for what's easy. You're not supposed to say this openly. A lot of black men go for what's easy. I think one reason why we have so much infidelity in Black America, black men have a cheating problem. We do. I think one reason why is because we go for the easiest chick we can get. And then we find out once we're in a relationship that we're not very happy.
Right.
And I like going for broke. I like going for the women that I really want. And I'm okay getting shot down. I'd rather get shot down the rest of my life than to settle for a woman I don't want.
I respect that. I respect that. But I promise you, them same women now, they want a piece of the pie. They see you with that swag, that blue collar swag, that catwalk bougie swag. And I'm sure they want to be in your life now. But I would say don't take them back. Keep moving forward, because I'm telling you, a man of your growth and intelligence in another country, you would be a 5-star recruit. You remember them basketball players back, the McDonald's All-Americans, Obsidian, and a McDonald's All-American was like one of the elite basketball players. They went to schools like Carolina, Seton Hall, St. John's, Duke. They were 5-star. The 5-star All-Americans, they were the top of the top in the echelon when it came down to basketball players. But I'm sure those same women didn't give you a lot of love back in your younger years. Now, since they've been discussed and busted, they want you on the team. What's been your experience with those women that didn't really show you the ones you shot for, but they shot you down? Are they trying to get you back now, or you just ignore them and don't pay them any attention?
You know what? I've been very fortunate not to look back. Facebook was designed for you to look back. So you go on Facebook and you look up all the people in your life. I deliberately don't do that.
Gotcha.
My I think it was Satchel Paige, the great pitcher, who said, never look back, because if you do, you might notice that life is gaining on you. I let the dead bury the dead. So I graduated high school, and high school is high school, and that's that. I don't, I've been very fortunate that I haven't been reached out to by anybody. I think that's great. And I've been very fortunate in that I haven't had to deal with women that I might have been dealing with back in the day. Now all of a sudden want to, get up on me and what I've been very fortunate in that regard.
Okay, all right. You talk about your father and your grandfather being the inspiration. I was listening to you on your show. You were saying there were men in the Marines. Your father, I believe your father and your grandfather were in the Marines, correct?
Yeah.
And what your dad got, and I'm sure your grandfather got, and I'm going to guesstimate, definitely your grandfather. I'm going to assume that the woman he got was a virgin, no kids, and was wife ready. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but when right after the baby boom came out, right after the end of World War II, my grandfather and my grandmother got together, and they were from Virginia and moved up here together, and they truly did build a life together. They, she wanted to go into business, he assisted, and they really truly built a life together. My dad met my mom. She was 35, she was 19, she was a nurse. He was a longshoreman, but he had a dream of going into business for himself. He did. She acted as his de facto secretary. They'd stayed together for 30 years until he died. 5 kids, suburban home, middle class, very successful. And in addition to him having his contracting business, she had her own private duty nursing business. They did very well for themselves. So I know what it's like to watch black men and black women work together, but I think that was a different time. That was a different era. Black women today, and we all know this to be true. Shout out to Miss Rebecca Lynn Pope. I call her Miss Turncoat, but nevertheless, she still was right before she voted for it, before she voted against it, been a turncoat. She said years ago that, black women don't want to build a boo. They want you to come fully formed, and they want to wait at the finish line and get the finished product. They have a right to do that. But they need to know that brothers have hard feelings about that. That brings us back to Mike Jones. Brothers have hard feelings about that. Sisters need to understand. Brothers have very hard feelings about knowing that sisters don't want no part of you until you're successful.
Right.
They need to know that. A lot of brothers are very resentful over that. They need to know that. So. Yeah,
and it's unfortunate, because, I know Kevin, you and Kevin were dear friends. Y'all were close, and I've had some shows with you and the Angry Man, 2 of the pillars of this current community. Shout out to the Angry Man. He's actually in the Tar Heel state. I've done some collaboration with that brother. Much love and respect to him. But, Kevin was an advocate of bringing the community back together, and I respected him highly for that. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe you should do what's best for you. I don't believe in saving the community. That's just me, because I don't feel like the community has done enough to honor and respect black men. And, I've heard a lot of people say that men should pay all the bills. Now, it's going to sound controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. Because I'm from the old school, my logic is this, like I told you when I was on your show, it's going to be prorated. If you're a virgin, you get all bills paid. You're a virgin, wife ready, no kids, all your bills get paid. Based on your body count, we're going to prorate it. Say you've been under 5, we'll say 95. I paid 95% of the bills. But anything over that, you're good if you get 90 to damn near 80 to, and based on body count, we know they're going to lie, maybe even 50% of bills paid. Because that was the gold standard. Women now expect men to be traditional 100%, but they are not traditional 100%. And what your dad and your grandfather got were traditional women that were wife ready, no kids, and virgins. And I think all too damn often we expect black men just to settle for anything. We're just supposed to settle. And I know there's no perfect people. I know that, you can't find everything that you're looking for. And they're going to, some men say, well, they're going to lie anyway. Well, put them to 3 lie detector tests. Be very difficult and say, if you want to get this ring, you're going to jump through hoops, because I don't believe in, I do believe in paying all bills for the right woman, but the typical modern woman, I'm not paying all bills. Based on your past and based on your wife readiness, I'll pay a percentage. But I'm not going to pay all bills if you've had a lot of fun and you got kids by a lot of damn different men. I can't do it. I'm saying I'm not going to do it. And I don't believe no man should do it, because guess what? They won't do it for you. They expect you to be 100% traditional. So I think men should do what's best for them under that consideration. What's your take on that?
Not only is that true, we can even take it to the body positivity piece.
Yes, sir.
The same black women that are plus size, they don't want to deal with no short man. The same black women that are plus size, they don't want to deal with no plus size man. They want a tall, ripped, muscle bound, carved out of granite brother, because it's the friction. They can't get with a bigger dude because it's the friction. They actually say this. So yeah, I agree. I'm in agree. One of the biggest known podcasts I'm known for is Why I Refuse to Be the Cleanup Man.
Yes, sir. I agree.
And look, if many of these ladies want men like my daddy and my granddaddy, but they are not women like my grandmother and my mother.
Say it one more time for the folks in the backup city. I
Yeah,
don't think they heard you. Say it one more time.
Yeah, a lot of, again, I'm not saying all black women, but a lot of sisters want men like my daddy and my granddaddy, but they're not women like my mama and my grandmama. So no, I'm not going to do that. No.
I totally agree with you. Shout out to my man Brandon Jett for that $100 hitter. Brandon Jett, because of your kind love offering, you are the #1 sponsor of this stream. Brandon Jett said another great stream at the Culture Clinician. Old man, you already know what it is, no doubt. Shout out to Brandon Jett for that $100 Cash App Super Chat. And Brandon Jett, as you always show love and support for the stream, brother. You are the #1 sponsor of the stream.
It's the money.
I want you to talk about your blue collar past. You were a blue collar worker, I believe, based on listening to you. You worked in construction. And let's talk about your career as a blue collar Renaissance man. You know, from construction to writing the book of Obsidian. Guys, put Obsidian's book information in the chat. Maybe I can put it in. And go get his book, the Book of Obsidian, Amazon bestseller, selling thousands of copies. But let's go back and look at the past life of Obsidian Mumia Ali, and also how you rose through the ranks from being a blue collar man, the type of work that you did, to being a national seller with your book.
Yeah, I was I got started at my daddy's knee. My dad was a contractor. He had a all black company. He had 5 guys that he would work with as his core team and bring on other guys as needed. That's a small company. And they were all journeyman tradesmen. When I was 7, I started, working with my dad, and I would carry his tool belt or drag his tool bucket, and I would sweep up and be a gopher and stuff. And as I got older, I got assigned little class. I was basically a de facto apprentice. And by the time I graduated high school, I pretty much knew how to do all that stuff.
Right.
And I started out working with my grandfather. I was literally grandfathered into my first job at industrial roofing company called Hamada Incorporated on 2848 Frankfurt Avenue. And back in the late 80s. And I started there, and I went from there, and I wound up working in a heavy industrial environment as a machinist, machine operator, mechanic, machinist, and stuff like that. And one day, February 9th, 2009, right after clocking in at 7 in the morning, I took a bad step, landed flat on my back, and that ended a 22-year career.
Wow. And
while I was convalescing at home, I was tooling around on my laptop, and I stumbled upon Paul Elam, who didn't have a voice for men yet. He was at another outfit called WorldNet Daily. And he would write columns pertaining to men's issues. And from there, I got turned on to Rossi in DC, later known as Chateau Artiste and Rouge V, and the Spearhead and Imalafidi and stuff like that. And it just hit me. I had met the lovely Miss Brown Sugar around the same time. And I had announced to her, after I got, myself back on my feet, I had announced to her, I'm going to be a blogger and a writer in the black manosphere didn't exist yet. I'm going to be a writer and a blogger in the manosphere.
Right.
And she just looked at me. She didn't say anything. She just looked at me. She just sat there for a minute. And then she walked over to me and said, okay, if you're going to do this, I need you to be successful. That's all I'm saying. If this is what you're going to do, I need you to be successful at it. And I got started. That was Halloween 2009. And I got started and I never looked back.
That's powerful, man. That's powerful. And congrats to you. What part of your book, Obsidian, addresses the blue collar man? And what kind of feedback have you gotten on that particular section of your book?
Yeah, I do touch on it in the book. I don't make it a central focus, but I do touch on it. And it's been the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. A lot of black men felt that finally there was a book that touched on these topics and did it in a sober and judicious type of way, but while at the same time hard hitting. So I was very heartened. I tell you, the book idea, that was one of, at the time, 3 years ago, that was my boldest idea yet, and it feels so good to know that it was successful and so well received. I was really heartened by that, because I tell you, that was a big gamble. It was a huge gamble.
Yes, sir. Right. Well, listen, that's what men do. Men take risks. We talk about life, and, I look at life in seasons, Obsidian, and, the early years of your life is the spring, and then when you start getting your 30s and your 40s, it's the summer. I would say you and I in the early fall of our lives. At some point, winter will come. Kevin Samuels used to talk about winter is coming.
Yeah.
And winter sad it came to him when it came down to death. But we all will expire at some point.
Let me jump in there real quick, if you don't. Because
go ahead,
let me say this: I'm 53. I know what it's like to be a young man. It's after dark, so hopefully the young people are asleep now. I know what it's like to be a young man, and there's been a lot of talk about gentlemen like us that have ED problems and all the rest of it. Let me tell you something. and it could be for a number of different reasons. I don't take Viagra. I don't need it.
Right.
I am a lot more randy today than I ever was when I was 25.
Right.
And I don't know if that's just me or if you can relate to that, or other brothers.
I can relate to it. I think you're not stressed out. I think you are more refined. You probably eat a lot better. You probably get your rest. And you probably don't really care about what people think. You're just living your life for yourself.
All 100% true. All 100%.
Am I talking right? Am I talking right?
Yes. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there is this idea. Now, here's why I'm at with it. Now, obviously, men in general, including me, like younger women as a general rule. But I'm not obsessed with it. I'm not obsessed with it. Right. If I have a choice, I would rather deal with a sister within a decade, 11, 12 years, somewhere in between my age.
Right, I agree with that. Yeah. Right, about 12 to 15.
Here's what I found. Because, the argument goes that the older ladies are much more randier and raring to go. And it's the older guys that, they got to get saltpeter. That's not true. That hasn't been my experience.
Right.
It's been the other way around.
Right.
It's a lot of ladies that want to slow down and so forth. And I'm raring to go.
Right.
So I say all that to say this. Yes, we have seen, and I normally, we normally typically, at least I did, heard sisters say words to this effect in different seasons in your life. I'll go along with that. But the way I look at it, I'm in my second act and I'm having a ball. I love retirement. I love what I do. I can't wait to get up in the morning. I love it. And I'm having a ball and I love it. I think it's great. I told a lot of the younger guys out there, man, life is great on this side of the ball, man.
Yes, sir. Right. And it's supposed to get better when you get older. You're more refined. You're a better man. I would agree with you more or less. I was in Brazil last year at this time with Al Grease, El Guapo, Beautiful Lives, Dr. Ron Neal, Chris Strongheart, a couple of guys. And I think what it is also, Obsidian, when you got a woman that's feminine and kind, that she's not stressing you out, People even say that sometimes a younger woman is a natural aphrodisiac to a man because, you know, human beings are containers, and in the clinical world, we call it a somatic response. It's called a psychosomatic response. Psycho means the mind, soma means body. And so when you got a toxic, violent woman that got a bad attitude, man, not only can it lower your testosterone levels because of stress, but her vibrations alone can cause you to have a state, be in a state of cataclysmic proportion. There was I don't know if you know about the study of Dr. Morimoto, or however you say his name is. And he did a study about vibrations, and out of the 3 cups of rice that he had, when he spoke life to the rice, it was stable and it lived. But then when he spoke, he left the rice alone, it became dark. And then when he spoke anger to the rice, it actually died or got molded and was very toxic. And so the gospel said that life and death is in the power of the tongue, and I believe that. And when you're around a woman that's quarrelsome and contentious, it takes years off your life. Men die earlier than women because of stress. And 21 Studios, Obsidian, did a show recently saying that men are literally dying because of marriage, because the women in their lives don't give them peace, but they have bad attitudes, overweight, don't listen, always fighting for power. And I tell men, don't deal with that BS, man, because you're taking years off your life by dealing with women that don't follow you and listen to you and follow your program. What do you say about that?
Not only is that true, I don't know about the vibrational study. This is the first time I've heard about that.
Right.
I do know about this. I know that if you're a man and you're around women that are not beautiful, that's taking years off your life. No, been studies have been done on this. If you're around women that are not beautiful, that don't take their looks seriously, that can have an effect on your life. Your sex life can have an effect on your life. We all joke about being backed up. If you're backed up, you backed up for too long, that can have an adverse effect on your sex life.
Right, sex is marriages, right?
And sex is marriages, that can have an adverse effect on your health. All those things. So yeah, all of that is true. If you have an uncooperative woman, you know the biblical story about it's better sitting on the roof and all that sort of thing.
Right.
Right. You know, if you got just a fundamentally uncooperative, I'll say it, unsubmissive woman that don't care nothing about her appearance. She ain't even trying to keep herself up. She's not trying to sexually service you on a regular basis. All of those things have a deleterious effect on your health over time. Yeah. So this is the first I've heard about the vibrational study, but the beauty study, I know about that.
Right.
You know, people used to get on me when I used to say beauty is everything to me. They don't know the reason why I say that. That's the secret to keeping young and vibrant, man. Is having a good looking. They've done studies with babies, and they would show babies good looking women's faces, and the babies would look at the faces and smile. Then they show faces of women that old weathered looking and kind of, you know, homely and whatever, and they start crying. It's true.
Cortez Smith said, kosher. There were black women online say they purposely argue with their black husbands because they know it would kill them off. He said, if I can find the video, I'll send it to you. Yeah, please do. And then shout out to my man, Intech1. He said, may Kevin Samuels rest in peace. Hypertension and fancy work for stress, no doubt. And, you know, people don't believe it. You know, I've said, I used to joke with folks. I heard one guy said, you get you one of those foreign fit women. They said foreign women's the place where your money go farther, and so does your nut or your seed.
Oh yeah, I'm somebody that believes that if you are a brother and for whatever reason you wasn't able to make it work with a sister here, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, famously said a man should go and seek knowledge even if it takes you to China. Do what you got to do, man. If you can't get it here, get it where you live. Do what you got to do, man.
Right. No, I agree with you 1,000%, man. I believe men should live their lives on their own terms. You know, it's a concept called the right to self-determination. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And that's a term that we use in the clinical world, the right to self-determination. That's a term coined by many folks in my sect and sphere. You know, the right to self-determination. It basically say men should get what they want. And if they can't get it, they just move on to somewhere else. And I believe in that because all too often, too many men have been told that they have to settle, they're not good enough, The women don't honor and respect them, and I believe men should live their lives on their own terms. I was talking with BGS and Dr. Neil last night, and Dr. Thunder, and also Ike. And I believe that this passport movement is part of the new male empowerment. Many times Obsidian, they talk about black girl magic, black girl rock. Well, they call it passport bros. I say, well, passports and pearls. That's a term that I created, hashtag passports and pearls, because the gospel said don't cast your pearls to swine. And I'm not calling them swine per se, but I'm talking about the attitude and the behavior. So passports and pearls is a new movement that I'm going to I might even get a shirt talking about passports and pearls, because now men are casting their pearls to foreign women that are raised different. Not saying that foreign women don't have issues, not saying that foreign women don't have game, not saying that if you're a simp in America, you won't be a simp overbroad, because some simps are going overseas messing up the ecosystem. We understand that. Right. But I'm just saying, by and large, the quality of women is different. They have a higher reverence for men. And I'm not saying foreign countries don't have their problems. They do. But why would you live in a country where you're dying off? So many men Obsidian are taking, testosterone replacement therapy. And some of it is because they're stressed out. If they were in a healthy relationship, Hippocrates said, let the food be thy medicine, let the medicine be thy food. Yeah. And Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. That's what Shakespeare said. And, the overall human wellness, or the salubrity of the body, is greatly enhanced, Obsidian, when people eat clean, eat healthy, get a woman that's soft and feminine. A woman with a feminine voice, that vibrations from that feminine voice, man, it can do miracles to the mind and the body. And I'm convinced that the older a woman get, Obsidian, the more set in her ways that she is, and her chances are changing and slim to none. What's your take on that?
Well, and it's interesting. My understanding of and I'll use the places that many black men prefer to go: Brazil, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico's part of the United States, basically the Latin world, the Afro-Latin world, if you will. My understanding is that the ladies that are more mature there, so we're talking about 40 plus, my understanding is that they look fantastic.
Yes.
And I'm saying that to make a point. Far too many black women over 40 here just don't give a F about how they look. They just let themselves. They just let themselves go, and they're the main ones that jump on older guys online. They're the main ones jump on older guys who try to keep themselves up, keep themselves together, looking halfway decent stuff. They demand that they date age appropriately. I don't want to date somebody that's matronly looking. I want a hot mama, not my mama. Okay, right. And far too many ladies here in the black community over 40 just don't care, and they expect you to just deal with it. And I know I'm not going to do that.
I don't blame you, man. Especially after you work your behind on become the man that you are now. You shouldn't have to deal with, because see, in those countries, Obsidian, the women, they compete for their men. They don't count it robbery to compete for their man, to eat clean, to cook their man a meal. They don't poke their mouths out and say, you cook for yourself, I work, I'm not no housewife, all that goofy ish. But they expect you to be a bullet bag if somebody come downstairs. They expect you to pump the gas. They expect you to always have solutions. And it burns me up, because so many men just settle for it, man. They just tolerate it. They die off early because of stress. And many times once they die off, them same women are with another man in the house that you work your ass off for. She got another man with her legs spread open, enjoying everything you work hard for. And that's why I'm so passionate as a therapist, because many times a lot of these therapists are woke therapists. They don't talk about male empowerment. It's something that's very rare. Even me, myself, being a black clinician, a masculine therapist at that, from a very elite school, I'm an anomaly, to say the least. And that's why I'm so passionate about seeing men get the best outcomes they can get, because I don't want to see men die off before their time. I don't want to see men go to the grave broken. I don't want men to have an existentialist crisis that leads to red pill rage, or what Kubler-Ross called the stages of grief. But when did Obsidian go through an existentialist crisis? Was it when you hurt your back, or was it before that?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Talk about it.
It was a very when I got turned on to Paul Elam. I was, convalescing at home. He turned me on to an individual by the name of Warren Farrell.
Mhm.
Dr. Warren Farrell is considered like one of, if not the granddaddy of the manosphere itself, the men's movement. He used to be in the National Organization for Women, but he left and did his own thing. I found him to be very profound. And he talked about how male disposability is something that society needs. You need men that are willing to sacrifice themselves. But in return, they're praised. So, for example, soldiers who go off the war and are killed in action, they're praised for that. Men who build the great skyscrapers and, the Hoover Dam and, the Transcontinental Railroad and all those different things, they may have died off, but they're praised in some kind of way. And he was saying that in our time today, we no longer do that.
Right.
And it really got me to thinking, because the way that my job treated me after I got hurt, after all those years, and it just kind of tossed me aside, it really deeply hurt. And that's what really got me onto the path to what I'm doing right now. It was really a therapeutic kind of process, kind of processing all of it. A lot of grief, a lot of anger, and a lot of hurt and disappointment. I kind of felt like society was turning its back on me.
Right. Many men feel that way. They feel disposable. Some call it disposable male syndrome, because, so many men give their best. And similar to what James Ingram said when it comes down to relationships, he said, I gave my best, but I guess my best wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And many men feel that way. They work themselves to the grave. They work their asses off. And, as a therapist, we call it behavior modification. And it needs to be a homeostasis in the relationship where the woman and the man both benefit. But if Obsidian is giving out more and the woman's receiving more than she's giving out to Obsidian, then that's a disequilibrium. Healthy relationships where there's mutually beneficial to both. They strive to understand each other love languages. But a lot of these relationships now are very parasitic, where her needs and wants supersedes your needs. And you just suffer in silence and damn deal with it because, you're killing yourself slowly. And I just don't believe men should be in those kind of toxic relationships because it's not good for them. I'm saying, the blue collar man in other countries is venerated. I think we talked about a little bit earlier. We know that there are a myriad of things that can cause that, from classism to wokeism, to also elitism. It all plays a role, and indoctrination plays a role as well. But I'm going to show you a clip. Kevin actually talked about you in this particular clip, and I want you to help break it down. He was talking about, it was about 2 years ago, talking about the blue-collar brother. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay.
And how the blue-collar brother is often not respected. The educated women think that they're better than blue-collar men. And we're gonna piecemeal this a little bit, and this is perfect. So I'll let you.
This little inconsequential, insignificant show that changed the way a lot of people looked at blue collar men, white collar men, and it did a lot to change the landscape of a lot of things. It was from a TV show called The Jeffersons, and it chronicled a black man by the name of George Jefferson. He and his wife, Weezy, and their son, Lionel, moved to the Upper East Side of New York City. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a former New York City resident, former Manhattan resident. To live on the Upper East Side of New York, you have to have some serious money, like I did. I moved from the Upper East Side down to the Upper West Side, right about Hell's Kitchen. The Upper East Side is where all the blue bloods and the old money stays. I mean, to move to the Upper East Side, if you have an Upper East Side address, especially back then, you had made it. Black men that were on that side of town were doormen. They were cab drivers. They didn't live there. Okay? Wheezy, Louise. Okay? And for George Jefferson to have moved his family from the borough of Queens to the Upper East Side was an accomplishment. An accomplishment, bar none. How many people in the chat room ever watched an episode of The Jeffersons? If you watched the episode of The Jeffersons, put a 1 in the chat room. Come on, this is going to be interactive. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. How many of you watched an episode of The Jeffersons? Because actually, The Jeffersons was a spinoff from a show called All in the Family.
What's your take on his sentiments about this whole blue collar thing, Obsidian? What's your take on it? We'll finish listening.
Kevin really knocked it out the park with that particular broadcast. And
he mentioned you into it. He mentioned you as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he mentioned you.
He frequently would, and I'm deeply appreciative for him doing so. And it was interesting listening to him over the last few years of his life trying to talk to black women about this, and they were very adamant that the only way they was getting with a blue collar guy is if he had his own company, or failing that, he made a lot of money. And studies have shown this. Studies have shown that you could be a blue collar guy and get on with an educated lady or whatever, but you just got to out earn her significant. I think the actual numbers, I think you have to out earn her by at least 30%, at least that, if not double. Stuff like that. It's just like with shorter guys. I was reading an article about shorter guys, and it said that the shorter guy had to make $175,000 to a guy that's 6 foot or over 6 foot to do the same thing. So, women, and it's funny because many women, in this case, black women, get upset with Kevin when he would ask them height, weight, dress size. You're judging me and all the rest. I said, and I would say to that, what do you think you're doing to us? You asking us our eggplant size. You're asking us our height. You're asking us how much we make, what zip code we live in, what kind of car we drive, our FICO score. All of these things are numbers. Mm-hmm. I mean, men who can meet all or most of those numbers, they got some numbers too that they want you to meet. Mm-hmm. And that's just how that goes. Men who have something, they want women who can also meet certain numbers. They don't want women that's well over 200 pounds. They just don't.
Right. I agree with you, man. And that's why men got to start saying, I want what I want. What mine is mine. And I'm not going to settle for anything less than what I work hard for, because they won't settle, and neither should you. Men should say, if you've been with a lot of men, if you've been doing X, Y, Z, I'm not going to settle. So what do you say to the men? Some person said, so I don't know what it means. Orland said you were bitter because women aren't messing with you like that. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I saw that. And I'm glad that he said that. I would love to talk to him in real time, because my question becomes, okay, am I supposed to feel good about that?
Right.
I mean, let's really play this out. Am I supposed to feel good about that? Mm-hmm. Am I supposed to be okay with black women being hypocrites? Mm-hmm. Am I supposed to be okay with black women engaging in the very double standards that they decry in black men?
Right.
Maybe the pathway to healing is doing what I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. Talking about it. Why is it that black men are supposed to just go off in the corner somewhere and heal quietly? Meanwhile, black women get to heal publicly, loud and long, for years and years and years. When Tarana Burke talked about Me Too, did anybody tell her that, you just bitter because men ain't messing with you like that?
Right. Right. I agree.
And you know what's funny about it is that this is coming from black men. This isn't coming from other black women. It'd be one thing if it was coming from black women. This is coming from black men. What does that tell you about how jacked up we are?
Right. Right. Yeah. Almost like what you're going to do don't matter. You know, I think men should have the right to feel the way they feel. They should have the right to say, yeah, I am bitter. So what? You know, being bitter does not invalidate you as a man. It just says, you know, you got things you need to work through and deal with as well. You know, some say Obsidian that money alone gets cooperation. I don't believe that, but what say you?
I don't think any one thing alone will do it. I think that, but I do think this. Men are very, for lack of a better way of putting this, we tended to reduce or simplify things. We tend to prioritize things, and then we tend to reduce and simplify them. So I think that money in the minds of many men, and for good reason, is one of the big prime movers and shakers when it comes to dealing with women. Now, in reality, yeah, money does matter, but so too does personality. So too does, you know, a number of different traits. But with men, we tend to prioritize. So we say, okay, if I only have one thing, I could choose one thing, it'll be this. You know, that's just how the male mind works. This brother in the chat room says, how long do you stay bitter, though? As long as needed. When do you heal? When black women start being honorable. That's when. Tarana Burke and Me Too wanted men. Let's be clear about this. Tarana Burke and Me Too wanted men to hold other men accountable. And it worked. When are black women, and I'm being told that you're a black woman, Olandus, so I don't know if you are or not, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. At what point are black women going to hold other black women accountable here?
Right.
What's it going to take?
Right.
And that is important in healing.
Right.
You cannot heal when you still got a gaping gash of a wound.
Right.
The wound has to be addressed, and then you can heal.
Right.
I want black women to be honorable and honest. I'm not asking them for some pussy. I'm not asking them to be submissive. I'm not asking them to bear my babies. I'm not asking them to wash my dirty drawers. I'm asking them to be honest and honorable. That's what I'm asking.
Right.
And I don't think that's asking too much.
It's not asking too much. It's not asking too much at all. But you know, Michael Jackson said it better than you and I. He said they don't really care about us. It's almost, you know, I'm gonna do a show at some point, Stephen, called "Yes, I Am Bitter." So what? It's okay to be bitter. Just don't stay there, or you know, at some point you do have to move forward. At some point. But I do agree with you. You definitely got to address the pathology that caused you to be in that state of bitterness. Because if that same person that said that get over it or don't be bitter, if they're still triggering you or giving you the same trigger points that caused the pathology in the first place, then you're correct. You can never heal. It takes time to heal, but you cannot heal if that person keeps reminding you of the things they did in the past. And all too often, Obsidian, we continue to see the same arbiters of hate use the same shaming language, you know, to more or less cause men to go back in that state of peril or perplexity. Because the thing about healing also means to remove yourself from that target trigger that caused you to be in a state of perplexity in the first place. And so you have a right to feel that way. You have a right to say, I'm hurt, you know, and I'm tired of being hurt. One of the things Obsidian you begin to see now, do you believe that blue collar men are beginning to get more respect now because we're going through an economic crisis, or you don't think it's genuine in your opinion?
It's very hard for me to say because I'm not sure exactly. I hear a lot of people talking about recession, but it's hard for me to tell exactly if it's here or not, or if it's not. And over, it's too early to say for me. But I will say this. I do agree with, I don't know if it's a brother or not, or Landuce. I do agree with this. There is a segment of black women who, no matter what, are just going to be 10 toes down. They ain't going to change.
Right.
I do agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't agree that what I'm talking about is just beyond the pale.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will.
Never will, right.
And I think that Orlando
The family
and others like
dealt a lot
Orlando
with those
are being
Shout out to
being
PhD
defeated.
Tiffany, the one who don't want to get married because she a PhD. Juxtapose that.
You finished talking Obsidian?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said I think that Orlando is being defeatist.
Mm-hmm.
If I felt the way Orlando did, I would have never, did what I did that led to my co-founding the Black Manosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never written a book. I would have never done a Black Manosphere meetup.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never done any of those things.
Right. I see your point. Right. I see your point.
It's not enough for black women to want black men to hold other black men accountable and be honorable and honest. They got to be honorable and honest too.
Right.
They have to do it too. You can't have it one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be honorable and honest too. And yeah, that's going to entail some pain. Telling the truth usually does.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the right thing is rarely pleasant. And more black men, see, who's really being sexist here? Who's really being misogynoir here? Me or Landuce? I believe that black women can be honorable and honest. He doesn't. Who's really being sexist here?
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's always the same catch-all talking points. A friend of mine came up with a term, Obsidian, called relationship capitalism. Shout out to Peaceful Life, and I parroted that by saying relationship inflation. When you hear the term relationship capitalism, what does that mean to you in your own words?
Capitalism. I think that capitalism has actually done a good thing for relationships. Mm-hmm. I don't believe there's been a long running debate in the Black Manosphere about marriage and whether men should get married, so on and so forth. I speak as a never married, confirmed bachelor. Mm-hmm. I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to marriage because I never done. My thinking is this. I don't think it's for everybody. I saw a video recently of the lead attorney, and it was a video called Off-Label Marriages. It was on the BGS Idmore channel.
Right. I saw that. Mm-hmm.
The lead attorney did an excellent job breaking it down. I think he's 100% correct. Mm-hmm. My thinking is marriage ain't for every man. Mm-hmm. Some men just ain't cut out for marriage as we understand it, in our time today. Some men ain't cut out for that. They need to have another arrangement that they can make with a lady or ladies or what have you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't believe that all black women should be pumping out babies and had a husband. I don't believe that. Mm-hmm. I think that it's great for some people and it's horrible for other people. That's what I think.
Right. Relationship inflation, I think what Ingram is talking about is that men should maximize the fullest opportunity to get the best bang for their buck, pun intended, no pun intended. And I coined that by coming up with a counter to that, and it's called relationship inflation. And basically what that means, Obsidian, is that the egos have been so grandiose now that subpar to average women think they deserve the top tier men. The Blue Henry is not sufficient for a relationship because his vocabulary is not good enough. And even though you are an anomaly, like I told you, you're a catwalk bougie. A lot of blue collar men may not have that Janaison quality that you got, but many times they get shot down. The plumber, the electrician, the men that got dirty hands, the men that keep this country going. I have high regard and respect for blue collar men because I was one at one point before I became a therapist. They can't get cooperation or peace or respect, and I just think it's stupid you got men that are blue collar men making over $100,000 a year, no debt, but because he is not cultured, quote unquote, he don't deserve a good woman. But see, if she was a feminine woman and knew what she was doing, she could actually take that blue collar man. Not that we need women to clean us up, and assist him in becoming even more refined as not only a blue collar man but also as a stately man. What's your take on that?
I think that the ladies that would have in the past been the counterpart to the brothers you just mentioned, it would be fine if they weren't coming to the table with, 1, 2, 3 kids, often by more than one baby daddy, and on and on and on. Those guys, I don't think the women in the higher upper echelon should have to deal with those brothers if they don't want to. That being said, I don't think that gives them a license to treat them badly either.
Right.
There are women that ain't my cup of tea, but does that give me the right to treat them bad?
Right. I agree with that. Right.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't give me the right to treat them badly. It's just like the guy from the Boston Celtics that, people say, well, I understand they've since broken up, but at the time, his long-standing lady friend Nia Long, she was getting old. She was about to hit the wall. That's no excuse for him to cheat on her, though. If she was no longer doing it for him, the honorable, honest thing to do would be to end it and move on.
Right.
So
that's a question. Yeah. I'm gonna challenge your query because I do agree with you in theory. But what do you say to the critic that say, well, she cheated him because she knew that she was on the downcline. She got him when he was younger and gullible, and she basically played herself because she knew that she betted against herself, but she knew technically that ideally he wasn't. She probably felt like he was doing good by getting her, even though she was considerably older. What's your take on that?
I think that if indeed that's the case, she definitely came up on the losing end of the proposition because clearly he's a man that can garner attention from women. So if that's the argument, if that's the case, she clearly miscalculated. Mm-hmm.
Right. She did miscalculate. Finish listening to some more things that Kevin was saying, man. Hold tight, and then I'm gonna ask you more about your book. How much time you got, Obsidian?
I got about 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Okay, cool. All right, hold tight. Let me play a little bit more of this. Hold tight.
With Good Times, about a black family in Chicago with a hard-working father by the name of James Evans. Now, I need somebody in the chat room to tell me, what college did George Jefferson graduate from? What college did George Jefferson graduate from? Again, if you curse, talk crazy, you're going to be timed out.
All right, so let me ask you a question, Obsidian. Are blue-collar men the deletes, like in the caste system in India? Are they the deletes, in your opinion? Because, based on what your friend Kevin was saying, most blue-collar men, or George Jefferson definitely wasn't college educated. I don't think you have to be college educated to be successful.
No.
But are blue-collar men in a caste system similar to the elites in India?
Yeah, I would say so.
All right.
I would say so in the eyes of a not inconsiderate number of, or not insignificant rather, number of black women. Yeah, they are untouchable.
Mm-hmm. Right, untouchables. Right. And do you think your grandfather would take what we take now in modern times? The disrespect, the chicks that ran through.
Absolutely. I distinctly remember, and my grandfather was a very, men from that era, my dad's era, my granddad's era, men from that era are a lot more different today. I think that's part of the problem that a lot of black women have with the black manosphere, is that you have black men that talk a lot and we're very expressive. And a lot of black women try to shut that down by saying how feminine that is. Black men from a previous era didn't say much.
Right.
And black women kind of ruled the roost with talking. And I think the black women today are kind of having a problem adjusting to that, because a lot of black men like myself are very expressive with words, and we can be rapid fire just like with them. And I think that's kind of, creating some, anxiety and difficulty for a lot of ladies. I would say this, that yeah, I think that a lot of black women have problems with black men no longer being the strong, silent type.
Right.
And I distinctly remember my grandfather losing it with my grandmother one day. One day she was just really going at, because she was a very, outspoken woman. My grandfather was very, soft-spoken, quiet. But she did something to him that day. And they had a glass table in the breakfast room. They had a glass table that we would all sit and eat breakfast at. He slammed his fist on that table so hard, a crack ran all the way through it. He said, "Elizabeth, that's enough." And smashed the table one time with his hand. Now, this is a man that's in his 60s, about to be 70.
Yes, sir. Right.
Okay? He hit it one time, and a crack ran through the whole table. My grandmother got quiet for the rest of the day.
Damn right. And you know what? It's funny you said that, because men's testosterone levels were a lot higher now back then, because they were eating natural food, they were working outside, they were getting sunlight. It was a myriad of things that kept them strong and wholesome. But that's what men need. But see, they would have called your grandfather toxic. They would have called your granddad toxic, missing war, whatever that foolishness is. And they would say, Joe, anything associated with being masculine, your dad would have been castigated, your grandfather would have been castigated. Do you think men are castrated mentally in America, Obsidian? And if so, why?
I do. I think, and it was funny, me and Miss Brown Sugar was talking about this. Men in general, black men in particular, we are in a kind of interesting time, because increasingly there are fewer venues that are actually masculine left anymore.
I agree.
We're basically coming, like I was talking earlier about, BDSM, dominant, submissive, and switch. We're going more and more into leaving the dominant and submissive, male and female. Now we're going more to the switch society, where women can do the same thing that men can do. And that raises an inevitable question. No relationship can work between men and women without gender roles to some extent. I'm not saying go to extremes, but you gotta have gender roles. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And we all know it's true. Anybody that's been in any relationship, if you're a woman been in a relationship with a man or vice versa, you know what I'm saying is true. The more, for lack of a better way of saying this, the more traditional the gender roles in generally, the better it tends to work out and the more satisfying it is for the parties. But the less gender roles you have, the more chaotic. You talked about the sexless marriages. We know that the marriages in which the men do the most work in the house have the less sex.
Right.
That's a fact. So this idea that women want men to help out in the house, do you want them to do that at the cost of not having as much sex? Which is the glue of, if you're not having regular sex with your spouse, and to be fair, I'm saying this as a never married man. If you're not having regular sex with your spouse, and in the United States, married couples have on average sex twice a week. If you're not having regular sex with your spouse, you know what you have? You no longer have a marriage. You know what you have? You have a roommate.
You have a roommate. I totally agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. Top Gun said, Obsidian, do you think stealing our ass back movement is inspired and motivated by the forthcoming recession? So Alan Obi coined the term, and I think his friend Courtney somewhat parodied, even though she said it was in jest. But some folks find it very offensive, to say the least. Steal their asses back is inspired and motivated by the forthcoming recession. What's your take on that?
This is the first time I've ever heard this. I never heard this before. Stealing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I had to go back and look it up. Stealing our ass back. I don't know what that means.
Stab. So Alan Obi of the Savior Community Black Man coined a concept called stab. Steal their asses back. And basically saying, steal black men to come back on the plantation and serve and save something that's irretrievably broken.
So they're gonna do like a kind of like a drop squad type of thing, like the Spike Lee movie, The Drop Squad. They're gonna go and kidnap you or something.
That they said it was in jest, but yeah, black men steal their asses back. You know, basically, we gonna. It's sort of offensive, man. To tell grown men we're gonna steal you back instead of the women changing and doing the work.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just seemed to me, it seemed easier to me that the ladies would just, get their act together. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Right, but that's not going to happen. You and I grew up with Gen X's, and Obsidian, you grew up in Philly, I grew up in Eastern North Carolina. But would you say, we know Philly cities always have had their share of issues, but would you say, Obsidian, that based on what you've seen, that things have gotten worse and worse? Now, I know things have probably always been rough in Philly, but even by Philly standards, would you say things have gotten significantly worse in your opinion?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Talk about that a little
bit. Violence overall has gone down, but the violence that remains is particularly egregious, and it's increasingly against women. And so that should be very alarming to the ladies listening. Same thing in Chicago and so on. Black men not being present in communities has a very real knock-on effect. Mm-hmm. Black women being huge, okay, is a sign of black men not being around. Black men are a natural check on black women's dress sizes, just like black women are a check on black men's notches on their bedposts. We check each other. We check each other against the worst impulses of the other. That's how it's supposed. I mean, if you're religiously inclined, that's the way God intended it. If you're not, that's the way Mother Nature intended it. However you want the universe, whatever you want, however you want to look at it, male and female act as a natural check on each other. Men act as a natural check on women's worst impulses. One manifestation of that is her dress size. Mm-hmm. Men that are mated to women, those women tend to be on average smaller than women who are not mated in the black community. Right. And turn it around, men kind of get feral without women in their lives.
Right.
They get feral. They're like feral dogs. They're not as domesticated. It's a fact that men that are in relationships, the levels of their testosterone go down. This is especially true if they have children.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard that, right.
And the reason why is if you're a guy that's got testosterone through the roof, and children being children, they have a temper tantrum, you're liable to kill that kid.
Right.
So there's a reason why Mother Nature fixed it to where if you take a wife and you have children, your testosterone comes down a little bit. So you're not as feral anymore. It's still there, but it's not as to that degree. We naturally act as a check on each other. The black community today, you asked about Philadelphia. I remember Philadelphia in the 1980s, for example. Worlds away different than, or in the 90s, worlds away different than it is right now, because back then, even though it was starting to change, you still had checks on each other. Black women had checks on black men. You just couldn't do a whole bunch of stuff with women. They wouldn't allow it. And vice versa, men wouldn't allow women to just do a whole bunch of stuff. They acted as a check against each other, and they had this dance where they negotiated. We don't want to negotiate today. It's fascinating to me. Women get their back up about being asked what they bring to the table. They've been asking that question to black men forever and a day. Now they get asked, they don't like it. Conversely, a lot of men get their back up for being asked what do they bring to the table. That's the whole point of the relationship dance. You find out if y'all have something that y'all can do a deal with. This is what happens when we don't have a natural check on each other against our worstest base impulses. For a man, the worst base impulse is to have as much sex as possible with as quickly as possible, with as little investment as possible, with as many women as possible.
Right.
For women, their base instinct is to have no male authority over them whatsoever.
Right.
where they could just do what they want, when they want, say whatever they want, wear whatever they want, look the way any way that they want, act any way that they want. That's their worst impulse. So
and no consequences.
Right, and exactly, no consequences. So men with no women in their life in the black community, and women with no men in their life in the black community, look at what is that's created. Look at that, what that produced. Chaos.
Chaos, yes, sir. Right. I totally agree. And that's why I think the pundits that, even though I think it's a noble cause, it's many layers to this. I think part of it is spiritual. As I told you on your show, the spirit of the Antichrist, I think that's part of it. I think part of it is socioeconomic. I think a lot of it is liberal indoctrination. And there's so many layers to this current phenomena, Obsidian. Obsidian, your book is trying to help men and encourage men. I want you to tell the audience about the Book of Obsidian and why they should purchase your book, especially the blue-collar brother. And then also I want you to talk about that chapter in your book about the blue-collar brother as well.
Yeah. The title, all right, so this is an interesting story. So the Book of Obsidian came about. I had attended an event 3 years ago featuring Derek Jackson, Ace Metaphor, and Stefan Labassiere. And the roommates were in attendance. And I had been kind of, ribbing Derek for a few years at that point, making videos and stuff, and basically responding to anything that he was saying. And I went to this event, and it looked like a church revival. It was 1,000 black women in attendance, standing room only. You had old black women on walkers. It was insane. And I was sitting there in the crowd, and I said to myself, you know what, man, this is insane. If these guys can do it, I know I can do it. You know what, man? I'm going to write a book right here. And I said that to myself. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we're going to do an event for brothers. I don't know how, but we're going to do it. Ended up doing the Mumia Obsidian Ali experience back this summer. It took 3 years to make it happen, but I did it. And that's how the book came about. So with the book itself, I said, what am I going to call it? And I like I said, I've always been kind of controversial, because even in my own family, people like, who do you think you are? I always did things in a big, bold fashion. I said, the book needs to be big. It needs to be a door stopper. It can't be a little pamphlet. It can't be a little thin thing. It's got to be big. And the way I like the women, I like women with big, thick legs. They got to be like that. It's got to be big, and it has to be bold. And I'm going to call it the Book of Obsidian. It needs to be bold. And that's how I did it. And I say a lot of bold things in the book. I say a lot of things that are considered controversial. Like, for example, the non-select guy. I embrace being a non-select guy. If you're a blue collar, you're kind of non-select. If you're shorter, you're kind of non-select, and so on. Disabled, in my case, non-select. I took all of those things and turned them on their head and made them a strength. And that's really the whole point of the book. It's very subversive. A lot of guys don't want to. Why would you call yourself non-select? They don't get it. They don't get the joke. It's very subversive. You want to take all that and turn it on its head. And so that's what I did. That's how it all came about. Okay.
Why should they buy your book, and also talk about the blue collar piece?
Yeah, you can get the book, and I do talk about blue collar brothers in the book. It's not about them per se, because I want to reach as many brothers as possible from various different walks of life, but I do cover it in the book. Very good reading. It's like almost 50 chapters, and you can buy it wherever fine books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Book Baby, my publisher, you name it. But Sam's Club. I've seen it all over the place on the internet.
Okay. All right. And then also, I was thinking about you. I know Kensington Avenue is in Philadelphia. It's a part. Every time I see it on YouTube, man, I think about you.
Oh yeah, I used to work there. That was where I first worked when I got out of high school.
Oh really? So what is this ongoing phenomenon with uppity white women and white men, and also black? What's going on with Kensington Avenue with all these drugs and these zombies? I call them walking.
Oh yeah, that Kensington K&A, as we would call it here in Philly, Kensington and the Allegheny Avenue, for example. That Kensington Avenue has always been, as long as I can remember, going back to the 80s, has always been a kind of shotgun alley for drug addicts and zombies and that sort of thing.
Okay, right.
Yeah, It's always been that. And
has it gotten worse?
Yeah, it has. Of course, the crack era was really big in the 80s, but white folks wasn't really dealing with crack per se. Their thing was and this was before crystal meth came along. Their thing was really heroin, shooting up. Hence the phrase "shotgun alley." They still do that to this day. And as far as the racial piece about the Karens and all the rest of it, I grew up in a section of Philadelphia called Germantown, and I grew up on the black side of it. It was integrated to some extent, but it was largely black. And I was used to a black world. Everybody who mattered were black, from the mayor on down. So what I would say to the Karens and white people want to intercede in our business, good fences make good neighbors. You respect my shit and I respect yours. I don't get in your business. I don't get in your affairs. You don't get in mine.
Right. I know you love the sisters Obsidian. Would you date a white woman? If that's not too personal.
Probably not that I have anything personal against white people. I don't. Not that I haven't seen attractive white women. I have. But I really don't even think about it. I got the lovely Miss Brown Sugar, and I like that she's brown.
Miss Brown Sugar. That's funny, man. Guys, Obsidian got to leave in a minute. He's got to leave. Do any of you guys want to ask Obsidian a question? And if so, pop in real quick. But Obsidian, moving forward, I always talk about solutions. And some say, we just talk about black women. There are no solutions. Well, I believe in solutions, and I'm going to ask you a couple solutions before you sign off. And thank you, man, so kindly for being on the show. I look forward to trying to go on to the black. The management meetup in Charlotte. Actually, you're going to be in the Tar Heel State, so I look forward to trying to support that if I can. Just let me know when you guys do it. I'll be in contact with Shannon.
It's a very important development, so I'll be in touch with you tomorrow to let you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. I know Shannon was telling me about it. So, but solutions are very important, man. And people talk about it. They say they just talk about this and that. Men don't always talk about women, but this is the part of the show.
This is the part of the show where we
think it's been that crazy, man. All right, I don't know. All right, anyway, but solutions moving forward for the blue collar man. What are the solutions moving forward? Obsidian.
Well, I think one of the solutions is what you talked about. If you're in a situation, black men that are blue collar tend to deal with working class black women. They're really off the chain these days. So I don't blame any brother that they get on a plane and catch a flight and they do what they got to do. I don't blame them for that. For the brothers that, are able to do what I did to some extent, you're welcome to it. You asked about the, Miss Becky. If that's something that, appeals to some blue collar brothers, do that. I'm for whatever brothers need to do to get them that feminine and sexual companionship that they would like. I'm for whatever that works for them. If you can't make it work with a sister, get it how you live, man.
Get it how you live, no doubt. Well, listen, Obsidian, I appreciate it, man, for you coming on, man. I know your Eagles are playing tonight, playing the Cowboys. I don't know if you look at football, but I will catch some of that game, man. But thank you.
The Eagles,
man. Yeah,
thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. Have a good night, brother. Be good.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. All right, guys. The link has been dropped. If you got any questions about the blue collar, white collar thing, the link has been dropped. You guys can pop in and talk about your story with being a blue collar man. I wanted to dedicate this show to the blue collar man because I, at one point, was a blue collar man myself. And so I got my man, Sir Exim. How you doing, brother? What's going on? Unmute yourself. How you doing, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you, brother.
All right.
Go ahead.
It's Sir Ism.
Got you.
Yes, sir. Brother, kosher clinician. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I know you. You got your psychoanalytical thing together, right? You're a clinical psychologist. My son is going to school for that right now. But
I'm a therapist.
Not
a psychologist.
Exactly. I feel I'm a therapist too.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of brothers have their analytics, their credit score, their degrees. They 6'2". They went to this college, but they don't have no manalytics. See, this is where they lose at, brother. They don't have no swagger, no style, no vibe. See, you got a style. You got your hat on. See, that might have developed over the years. Because I seen some pictures of you. When you were in college, you was kind of, I ain't going to say corny, but more stately. Now, you putting some swag on your thing. See, this is what a lot of brothers from your side of the fence hate on the quote-unquote, like my dudes back there, the Pookie and the Ray Ray. See, the Pookie and the Ray Ray, he don't got his analytics, his credit score. You know what I'm saying? His social media rating.
Well, let me say this, brother. I've always had swag. I mean, back then or whatever, I've always had it. I stand firm in mine. 6'5", 6'6", Chris Mouthpiece, no doubt. I've always had it. Not only stately, but I'm clean. So I don't know what picture you saw about me looking indifferent, but my swag is impeccable. And so I just never tolerated dusty females.
And that's that shit I like right there.
Right.
See, you let me talk my shit, but you came back with yours.
Oh, no doubt. I'm a Leo, man.
Guys, quote unquote, passport bros. All of the black women ain't no good. All of this, all of that. They don't have no manalytics, man. They didn't have no grandfather. See, grandfather didn't have degrees, but he had swag. He knew how to get money. He knew how to stack. He knew how to save for a rainy day. He knew how to be a man when it come to that bedroom. See, a lot of these guys, when it come to that bedroom, y'all talk about Kevin Samuels with the high value, but y'all brothers don't have no high value hockey stick. If you're going to have a black woman, you're going to have you a high value hockey stick if you want Cardi B, like a lot of these young dudes do. They don't want to get them a 5 and settle down and get a woman with some kind of godly presence that's going to raise your children kosher. They want to get Cardi B, and Cardi B don't want them.
Right, I agree with that. I think women want Captain America too, like Lizzo. So
yeah. But a lot of these brothers, they don't understand. See, if you kind of like a corporate guy, you might want to get you a snow bunny. See, because within our race, we have our own inbred racism. I'm a lighter brother. The dark-skinned women, I say hi, they give me their mother maiden name, social security number, everything. See, you a darker brother, the light-skinned women jump to you. See, they don't use that. But if you get another nationality, as long as you a black man, it's cool.
Right.
That's why they want to run to Colombia, but them are just high-priced prostitutes. So don't y'all ever be putting Goldie the Mac on y'all cover, man. Goldie the Mac was a Mac. He had 4 or 5 women and controlling them. Now, if you a blue-collar dude, you can't be a Mac. You not Goldie. You just a blue-collar dude that can get a couple of women. Don't be disrespecting, because I'm from Oakland. I'm from the Bay. Don't ever disrespect Goldie the Mac. He had 4 women. He was controlling women. These dudes can't control one woman. They Red Pill, Lexington Steel, they MGTOW Mandingo, they all this stuff, and they can't even get one woman.
But I think that's a myth, man. I think it's a myth also about all the women in Colombia being prostitutes. That's a myth. Are some? Sure. But to castigate all the women as prostitute, that's a misnomer. Because hold up, because if you want to say that, then most women in America are prostitutes.
Thank you.
They're culturated prostitute. So I don't get your point.
If they didn't make it, a lot of these guys' wives are prostitutes. If they didn't make a certain amount of money, if they didn't come up and gave them their card and say, hey, I'm a lawyer, hey, I'm a this, I'm a that, the woman wouldn't even deal with them.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so a lot of these guys' wives, they don't even know, they ain't vet their woman. In the Army, you got to go through private training, corporal, lieutenant, sergeant. This is what y'all need to do with y'all women, because you let a woman in too soon and you come in tricking. So once you come in tricking, now you got to buy the woman. She really didn't even like you. But a lot of dudes get women for a photo op. Women don't even love them, man. And then they come back and now they red pill. Oh, I'm red pill. No, you picked the wrong broad first. Now you got some manhood about you, and now you want to go overseas or do this. Stop tricking when you young. Tricking is like an old man game. Young guys shouldn't be tricking, man. Stop paying for the woman. Make that woman invest. If she don't invest, then you must digress.
GCLA said you're a hood psychologist, man.
Exactly. Now, wait, hey, I never went to college. My son going to college, and he doing like you, Closer. He went to Grambling, and now he's going to St. Mary's. He's getting his master's degree. Because, see, I got manalytics. This is why I'm trying to balance the game with these brothers. Because, see, you got the analytics, your credit score, all of that, the college you went to, and all that, Harvard. They want to listen to them brothers, but they don't want to listen to the hood psychologists. And this is what y'all missing if you want Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion. Or get you.
I personally won't want Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion.
These younger guys, Coach, this is what they want. They want to stop these bras from being whores and make them housewives. Coach, come on. I ain't never went to this club and gave a woman a dime. I can't spend no money on no woman. I've been watching you from afar. I had my time to finally get up here, man. I'm going to just do my dance right now. Go ahead, Coach.
You're right, man. Hey, you respectful. I was supposed to come on and challenge you, man. Y'all challenge my man.
Hey, Coach, they can't challenge me. They can't challenge Sir Ism. I'm Uncle Ism with the wisdom. And then you got to say it. Ism. See, I don't got all the subscribers in the space. See, these brothers know me, man. They can't challenge me because they know what I'm talking about. Because your head was in the books. See, so you didn't have your social thing together. And now they got this thing called social media. Are you kidding? So a hoe can just be a hoe. But see, a lot of you guys don't have no pimp bone. You don't have no player partner. See, I could tell you in 10 minutes when I meet your woman, you got to let a hoe be a hoe. She don't love you. She love you because what you can do for her. She love you because you're a photo op. See, you dudes want a 10, a dime, a 10. But see, pretty is what pretty does. A 10 is a woman that attends to your business. Now that's a pretty bitch.
Okay. Brother Allen, what would you say, Brother Sir Ism?
Brother Allen already coming in. He married. So he out the game. He done settled his Mac hand down. Brother Allen, you married, man. I already know about you, man. Damn, Allen. You married, man. So you used to be in the game, and you want to challenge me as a player, but you can't because you married, man, with 2 kids. You threw your Mac card away. Go ahead, Brother Allen. You got the floor.
You were very
Right on, Allen.
All right. So, long story short, forgive me for that. Go with Wi-Fi's fast.
It's an echo, man.
Okay.
Y'all guys can change the thing. It's an echo.
Wi-Fi's trash. But
brother, let me try it out.
If you got to close YouTube.
It might have was me, brother. There we go.
All right.
Quit.
It's Belly. There you go. Good job.
Go ahead, Brother Allen. I was talking my crap. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just saying, brother, you're very entertaining. Yeah. Wi-Fi's trash. We're traveling. We're in the process of doing some things, and sir, we have moved a little bit closer to you, Brother Kosher.
Right.
Out here, propping up a whole nother business. But as far as being married, yeah, I hear you, but
no, you didn't. You didn't hear me. Answer the question now, counselor. Are you married? I can see your teeth. I didn't see your teeth earlier. See, this man analytics. Yeah. See, I don't got degrees and stuff, and I can see if you pass the test. I just can know your man analytics. I'm watching your movements.
Right. Are you married? So I'm married under Muslim law, not a contract by American law.
Kosher. Yeah. Kosher. What did I tell you? And now you're talking about the Muslim. Alhamdulillah, Bismillah, Rahim, brother.
Very entertaining. As far as man analytics, see, the credit part is a part of it, but here's the thing that you seem to have misconstrued or missed. When you come from the hood or rural conditions or austere conditions, whatever you use to put it together to make it work, sometimes you got to mix it to fix it. Other times you got to, take a whole nother route. But the way you talking, it almost sounds like you a pimp, but you're giving me Mac vibes, good sir.
Right.
Mac vibes.
Well, the name of my show is the Macosphere. Brother X gave me that proper the thought. He said, man, you need to be the Macosphere. So I'm glad that I'm exuding the vibes that you see me exuding. Right. Appreciate it.
Right. Again, entertainment. But we need, I'm sorry, I love you, brother, dearly, but we don't need more entertainment. We need more intellectuals out here.
Right.
I watched the show last night that you produced, good sir, and that was on point. That's what we need. That's what will get our community back, not entertainment.
Man, hey, brother, thank you. I appreciate that in the kindest way, brother. I'm glad that you watched and even said something, because I didn't see you in my chat, but you did watch from afar. I appreciate that. But if you notice, some of the best comedians, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, even O'Neal, brother, they comedians. That's what I come with. I can't help it. That's me. But a lot of stuff they say is true, and a lot of these dudes be fake, but I'm real. But I didn't know this woman was gonna call. I'm just one second. How you doing, baby?
A lot of truth is said in jest, but just give the truth. And I hate to be, I'm not trying to be funny, but I was actually referring to Kosher, good brother.
So the whole epigenesis of this conversation, is talking about how blue collar men are pariahs. Alan, you're a blue collar brother, make big money, and
yes,
I'm still laughing at Sir-ism. Sir-ism said he was looking at my pictures. I've always had swag, bro.
That's my thing.
The only difference between me is that I just didn't sell it for low life women. The stuff that men sell it for now ran through kids by other men. I didn't even look at them. I've always had a stately swag, even when I was in church or doing whatever. I've always had a style about myself. And the thing, that I see, brothers, is that a lot of times what I had in my 20s, they did like me, but they didn't like me because they said I was too scholarly or too erudite. But I've always had a style about myself. So I'm a Leo. So you know about Leos. Leos are kind, but we got fire. We got that fire for your mind. And we will lace you with that hot fire if you get out of line. So I've always been that way. I don't give a damn who it is. It's not a man on this planet, when I apply myself, that can see me. I stand firm on that. And I can debate with the best of them. But we're at a critical nexus here in America when it comes down to men getting their needs met. I noticed you talked about the passport bros, and and you said that they dealing with whores and all this goofy stuff. Well, listen,
brother.
Hold tight. Let me finish. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you rock. I promise you. No, but you did say it. That's what you said. And you do what a lot of folks do. You make false assumptions that the only reason why men travel is because they can't get quality women or they lames and all that stuff, and that's not true. Are there some awkward men that travel? Yes, but we overgeneralize and castigate those men and then say, oh, they're getting whores, or they need to keep Mac game. Why would men use Mac game for the typical modern woman that's ran through and kids by multiple men? They add no value to your life. Now, are foreign women, do they got messed with that? Are some of them foreign women whores? Yes, it just depends on what dictionaries you go into. But women on the countryside, by and large, a lot of them are quality women. They traditional and they were raised right. So you got good and bad and foreign women, but I would say by and large, most women in the West, white or black, they got a lot of issues, man. And, to get cooperation and submission, and maybe your Mac game is crisp and they fall in line. So I ain't mad at you. If you got them and you can get them to cooperate, more power to you. But educated men like myself, I ain't got time for that goofy shit, man. Still trying to, use game and all that goofy shit. I mean, I'm just going to be direct and to the point. My accolades speak for itself. If I was a single man in the game, I'm 6'5", 6'6". I got the voice of Zeus, highly educated, good credit. I can debate with the best of them, even the hood scholars or Machiavellians or whatever. They don't impress me. I used to work in prison, inmates didn't like me, but they respected me. They used to call me Mr. Bojangles because they said I can't get away with stuff. So I always tell people don't ever get it twisted. Don't let my degrees and my accolades think I'm a cupcake, I'm soft and they can play. Won't work, bro. I can be as kind as a kitten, or I can be as hot as a lion. I just tell you, which one do you want? Because like I said, they don't want the smoke. I used to tell them, if I don't get you from the hip, I'll get you with the clip. And you don't want the clip. So that's our role, man. I'm one of the coolest people in the world. With all this disdain for men that are traveling, I said, where was the disdain, Brother Sir-isms, when black women were going to Negril, Jamaica, when they were going to different parts of the world, getting their groove back? We don't say nothing to the white boys when they go and travel. We don't say nothing to the white men. But as soon as black men say they want to travel, live their life on their own terms, then you got PUAs, or relationship coach, and I'm not saying you because I don't really know, or even sometimes the Macs saying you just need to get your Mac game up. And you basically a sucker for traveling. I think that's foolish because every brother that travel is not a lame or weak. There's a lot of brothers that are professional. They got money. They're well learned, and they travel for the quality of the experience. But go ahead, Sir-ism. Go ahead, brother.
I hear you, brother. That sounds good. But I had gave you that compliment already. I said you are a very stately brother, and I know that you 6'5" because you were mentioning that to me about
6'6" with shoes on. Don't get 6'6".
6'79". Okay, I ain't trying to choose. I'm a man, so I mess with women. So you ain't got to tell me that no more. But everybody not that. So the other guys that's regular height, even guys that's shorter in stature, like
How tall are you, brother? Sorryism. How tall are you, brother?
Still 5'5", but you still can have your game about yourself and have you 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 women, and have you more women than a brother that's 6'79" and got a woman 4'11" running him like he a puppy dog. So the height don't matter. See, it ain't about the size. It ain't about the car. It's about the nigga. You understand me? So what can you do to that woman's brain? So this is what I'm trying to say. They may need to do what we doing right here. Take Brother Allen, put it in your gumbo pot. Put some of your grandfather. Put some of kosher clinician. Put a little Uncle Sir Ism in your gumbo pot. Stir it up. You need your accolades, okay? You need to be, stately, well-dressed. You need to have your degrees and things, but don't let a woman play you. Still be smooth enough where you take the street game or whatever I come from and still say, man, this woman playing with me. Hey, man, this woman is using me. Hey, this woman thinks that I'm just a trick. And then a trick could be a long-term lick. So this is where I'm trying to help you brothers. See, with your man analytics. See, now, Coach Clinician, I'm 6'5", I'm 6'6". He ain't got to say that. We can see it when he's standing there. I'm Sir Ism. We can see it when I'm standing here. But women like who they like. Let the woman choose. See, a lot of dudes trying to choose the wrong woman, and then they get used. And then when they get used, and then they want to go to court, and now I hate child support. It's your child, support it. See, you chose wrong, bro. Go ahead, make your life over, and stand up as a man. Start all over, because as a man, you can start over at 50, because I look good at 51. You understand me? Yeah, at 5'5". And then you 6'5", and then we got Brother Allen. He got his style. But what I'm saying is a lot of brothers still crying at 40 years old on this damn black manosphere. They 50 years old and they red pill and they don't get no woman and they settling. It's not settling. It's where you at. That's your woman. That's what lead. Get a woman and be happy. She can help your life. You dudes are so wound up and you're yelling at all these women and all these women are wrong, but you need you a woman. Kosher, you got a woman. Allen, you got a woman. Help these other red pill, quote unquote, brothers out. Get a woman, man, and handle your business. Colombia, Yugoslavia. Just get a woman, brother, and make it.
Well, I think that's where they're going at.
I ain't hating on the passport.
Brother Surrealism, I think that's where they're going at. They're going where they're celebrated, not tolerated. And, as a clinical therapist, it's called getting your needs met. Dr. William Glasser said that needs drive behaviors. And because of that, this is what they're doing. Hold tight.
I'm tired of America, so I'm hitting Richie on the net. I got the tickets, that's a bet. We need the link, my brother set it up. Damn, I didn't had enough. Ooh, I won't lie. Can I get a little shake with them fries? My skin tone is matching your eyes. Black men, we like them thighs. And baby, she can do it all. Your land is my land. Cut through.
Yeah, that's what they're doing, man. They're saving themselves, man. They ain't got time to deal.
You got married.
Hold tight, Surrealism. No, you know what, Surrealism? Yeah, some of them are getting used. I'm gonna be honest. Hold tight, but that does not invalidate the movement. They're getting used here in America too. One of the things I do as a therapist is teaching men how to uncover so that they can recover, so they can minimize the thinking errors that they've used to allow women to manipulate them. But there is a better quality product abroad because the women are just raised different. They're just raised different. They're raised different. They're more feminine and all of that.
I've been over to Colombia. The broads are just better at disguising that they're whores.
I think it depends on where you go at. Listen,
in Colombia, kosher, they want the whole country is on a mindset is trick and hoe for the green card. Once you're an American, you got money. They feel you got money, whether you got $1,000 or $100,000, whether you got an AA degree or a PhD. You American. A lot of these guys go over there for trick and kosher.
My point is this, Sir Isman, that's a myth. Okay. There are spots, like you said, in Medellin and Cartagena. You're correct, but the argument that many always use, some of the PUAs, and they use that same type of argument. Oh, they tricks and they just traveling for box. But I asked you the question earlier. Where was that same vitriol where black women were traveling for doing the same thing? Hold tight. But that's my point. So my logic is, why are men so preoccupied with what black men do with their phallus? I don't understand. I don't care what black men do. Whether they tricking or not, that's between them and God. I personally don't care. I don't care. I mean, if they want to trick, let them trick.
I'm saying that these women are so much better. If you go over there and pay
brother,
she's just better at being a better whore.
Listen, once again, you're
going to Medellin for $50. It's still a hoe.
Listen. Once again, you're right and wrong. You're right when it comes down to certain districts. You're correct. They are whores and they are better than masculine. I agree with you 1,000%. But if you castigate the whole movement and say that in all areas, that's true, that's a myth. It depends on where you're at. All women in those areas are not whores. Some of them, they're repelled when people assume that they're whores. But when people use the entire argument, they just want you for your money. Well, hell, they want you for your money here. When they say they want you for green cards, that's a myth. I got a friend with Dre with loves crossing borders. His wife is she's from Colombia. She's a very educated woman, and they are married. So it's a myth. It just depends on what part you go into. Just like in Brazil, if you go to resort areas, then you are going to run more into working girls. If you go into resort.
How long did he vet that woman? Your friend Dre, how long did he vet that woman before he married her?
I don't know. I think they dated for a while. I don't know, but they're
this is all I want you to tell the other brothers.
She's an educated.
They're gonna tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. But if you say it, they'll be like, okay, Kosher is a smooth brother. They'll listen, like, brother, at least date the woman for a year, 2 years, vet the woman, then you should get married. But a lot of guys are going over there in 2 months, 3 months, and they only going over there for 5 days, 2 weeks, and they just saying the women are better. But that brother had a relationship.
Right. But that's true.
I like that.
I do agree with you.
Sex is different than when, like, a prostitute.
Right. I do agree with you that some mask, like all women mask. I always tell people this, Sir Ism, that women universally are the same everywhere you go. They're just acculturated differently. But women in foreign countries, by and large, they're better. They're raised different. They're just because they have patriarchies in place. We don't have a patriarchy here in America. We don't have a patriarchy. So they either get down or they're gonna lay down, because femicide is real in Colombia. Femicide is real in Honduras. Femicide is real in those countries. So they have no other choice but to get down or lay down. And so it just depends on where you're at. But what I get, Sir Isms, is that people tend to overgeneralize and assume that every man that travel is tricking, that he's a lame, he can't get women here in America.
What percentage would you say? And they do have some patriarchies still left. Because when I grew up as a kid, I grew up, I guess I'm Gen X, okay? I seen when on my block, when my grandmother and my grandfather, they came from Arkansas, they came to Cali, and Brother Jones, Brother Smith, Brother James, and they all had fathers. Then the crack era came and it changed. So some patriarchies are still out there, like you know what I'm saying? So if your daughter, your grandkid come over and a friend of his, he be like, man, your granddad, you don't know the power you have on kids that's not even your children. Be like, man, your grandfather used to dress nice. He used to be stately. His Cadillac was clean, or whatever kind of car. The little imprints that you put on brothers. When I came up, man, in like the 70s, in the 80s, it all changed. And now the women are like taking over, but we need more men. And just to tell these brothers, hey, man, the women are going to try to do this. They're going to try to trick you. But if you can find one diamond in the rough, you might got something, because they come from that kind of background. But don't just go over there and just say these women are better because you from New York. Maybe you should talk to a woman in the South. You from California. Maybe you should talk to a woman on the East Coast instead of having to go way to Colombia and just like these women are better. I think a lot of guys just be choosing wrong, and they want Nicki Minaj, but Nicki Minaj don't want to be a wife. Kosher?
Listen, there's some truth to what you're saying. There's some truth, but I think it's convoluted truth. Once again, by and large, I stand firm on. I do think women abroad overall, because of how they've been conditioned, are better. They're better because they've been conditioned to be better. There was a time when black women in America were better because they were conditioned to be better. But because of aversive policies like feminism, liberal indoctrination, and a myriad of other things, they choose not to be better because men have low standards. Hold tight, let me finish. I'm gonna rock with you. I'm gonna let you rock because they choose not to because they have low standards. They're raised in single parent homes. See, Sir Ism, you and I remember a time when homes were intact. You and I grew up in a generation where there was more unbreakable, like they said. You had George and Weezy. We grew up in that generation where the community was more intact. You had more strong masculine men. But after that, man, it's gotten worse. This generation of men haven't seen that. They haven't seen it, so they defer their power by dealing with women here in America that are weak, they don't believe in serving their men, and so they just settle for mediocrity. So it just depends on where you're at and how you were raised. We remember but the generation coming up, they've never seen it. They've been raised by their moms, with 80% of children raised in single parent homes. So I would say the women, they are better because they're forced to be better, and they fight for their men. They don't have policies like feminism and feminism and all these liberal policies that give them power. As Frederick Douglass said, he said the power never conceded to anything without a struggle. It never have and never will. They have power, so they don't have a reason to fall in line. But see, in the other countries, those women don't have social policies and the law on their side. So they fight for their men because it's a matter of survival. Something our women did when under Reconstruction and under Jim Crowism. They had to fight for their men because they needed to survive. They don't need us to survive. So when men say the women are better, they are damn better. They're superior. They work out. They even listen. I'm gonna share something with you, sir. I heard a man tell me, he said that the foreign whore is better than the American woman. Hear me. She's better because of how she's been conditioned. Give an example. They say if you get an American whore, she got an attitude. She want to rush you. But they said with the foreign whore, she'll be nice to you. No. He just hear me. They said with the foreign whore, she's a whore, but the way she's been raised to show you, to give you the girlfriend experience. Even if it is fake, even if it is fake, she at least knows how to be fake. But with some American women, they don't even do that. They got attitudes. Even after you paid the bill, they tell you to hurry up and come on. I got things to do. Hold tight, sir.
Hey,
Top Gun said. Let me read the super chat. Top Gun said, "Who hurt this dude?" Top Gun.
No, ain't nobody hurt me, Top Gun.
He said, "Who hurt this dude?"
I'm a Stone Cold Mac, Top Gun.
And James Turner said, "Hello, Coach. Hello to the chat. All I can say when you don't know what you do."
Okay, bro. Salute to you, brother James.
Right? That's a deal, right?
All right. But listen, sir, as a man, I appreciate you, Papa Dude, man. I'm about to get off, man, and I check this game out, man.
Salute to brother James and salute to that brother. What I'm saying is, what it is it's a lack of pimping, though, man. See, a real P in America have his bitch together, so she gonna serve you right. But see, all them little dudes that be standing in the alleyways, those are them women pimps. Okay, so y'all think ain't no pimping and pimping don't exist? Oh, pimping gonna always exist because of thirsty tricks. So when you dudes go over there and be thirsty tricking, gorilla simping, and y'all do that, go ahead, man. I know you married, dude. Now, if you married, get your rocks off. I know your woman got you on pussy punishment, and you know what I mean, and dick time out and all that, and you can't do nothing, and you mad you married the wrong woman. You got to go overseas and get your rocks off. Now, y'all go on over there. But for my younger brothers, man, it's not good to be tricking at 22 and 23 because you get a trick sex, a girlfriend experience. Why not go ahead and get you a real girlfriend and experience a real woman, okay? But you're trying to get that dime, and that's just a look, because a 10 could have a stanky box. She could have a stanky attitude. A 10 is a woman that attends to your business. That's a bad bitch. Whether she a 5,
hey, sorry, do me a favor, brother, because sorry, I don't mind you talking, I don't mind you rocking, but because the algorithm, please reduce the profanity, man.
Excuse me. But I just want them to put some emphasis, because everybody think Brittany Renner is the 10, the look. See, the beauty is in the duty, brother. Y'all brothers just ain't had no big butt women. Y'all got to go over there and get your rocks off. Go on ahead. I'm past y'all, man. I done got my little 10,000 rocks off. I done live life. So y'all go over there, trick off on them women, then come back. But stop trying to pick these dimes, these Lottos, these Little Kims, these Nicki Minaj's. They don't like you niggas.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Foreign women, by and large, they put Nicki Minaj and Meg Thee Stallion to shame.
Coach, why you saying all this? Where your wife at? She hear all this.
Listen, I was in Brazil. I was in the movie.
What was you doing in Brazil, Coach?
I was in a movie. Hold tight. This is why men are frustrated, bro. And then I'm gonna sign off, man. Hold tight. You're gonna see it, man, because I'm a celebrity.
The movie frustrated. Oh, I seen that, brother.
Oh,
Yeah,
hold
I've been watching from afar. I think I seen the brother.
Hold tight. No, I
They didn't
was
want to play it
down
on
there.
BET, that movie?
No, not that. Hold tight. Let me find it real quick. Then we can sign off, man. Hold tight. Let me see if I can find it. I got to find that clip.
I want to pull it up. This was a good conversation, Kosher. And I like that you let me spit and everybody don't just like cut you off and make it an echo chamber. I have a
different. No. I try to hear truth in all things, bro. Hold tight.
When you date a woman and she may be a potential wife, it's a competition thing all the way. I can't take it no more.
They feel propped up because they feel more beholden to the government. And then their man comes second. That's why they figure that they're strong, independent, don't need no man because they have the government.
Because the men are failing us, to be honest. Guys thinking about themselves and they'll think about you after you react.
You don't hear anything about being good wives and all this other stuff. What you hear is you're strong and you independent. You can do it on your own. You got black girl magic, black girl rock, but you ain't said nothing about black family.
My mother is like what they consider to be the strong black woman. I feel like I projected that onto the guys that I dated.
Ladies have no idea how stiff their competition really is. You have no clue how black men are viewed in the rest of the world. We are the #1 most sexually desired man on the face of this planet.
They would call Jesus Dusty if he was here living in America because of the gross narcissism that a lot of our women have. I think Sir-ism's popped off, and that's okay. But I think Sir-ism's one to push his agenda about don't be a simp and macking. I don't believe in macking. I don't believe men should waste their time with that foolishness. Shout out to a man, Top Gun. He said, "Is this a stab spokesman as well?" I don't know, man. But shout out to Sir-ism, man. I think Sir-ism is pushing that macking agenda. I don't believe in macking, not for this crap here in America. But anyway, guys, this has been a good one. I'm about to sign off, man. It's 11 o'clock in the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. Guys, thank you guys for tuning in, man. I wanted to do this show for the Blue Collar Brothers. I want to tell you guys that you guys are appreciated because I was a blue collar brother before I became a white collar brother. And I just want to tell you guys to keep grinding, man. Don't limit yourself. Don't worry about folks talking about you traveling or whatever. Whatever you do when you travel is between you and God. And don't worry about that. You know, white men have been traveling for years, and so should you. So it's been another good one, guys. I love you, brothers. About to sign off and look at a little bit of this game. And guys, do me a favor before you sign off. This robot been texting me. He said, "Look, I need y'all to get them likes up." So guys, go feed the algorithm. All right, guys, we signing off. It's been a good one. And remember this, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. Signing off.
Pain. I've been there, locked up inside my head, broken from fear, illusions, disappointment, and hopelessness. Who heard me in my silence, where being a man means nothing? Despair. I've been there too, desperately seeking answers for the questions associated with manhood, hills and valleys, too bleak to compare. Stress, suffering in a utility silo, no comfort, no security, no freedom, no justice, just do it for others. Challenges, Who will help me break the challenges? Lost in the vortex of darkness, hopelessness, fear, and abandonment. I've been there too. I've been there too. Take the next step to your destiny. Join me in this fight. Walk forward. Deep breaths. Head held high, men. Come join me, men, in the winds of time. Stories, hopes, visions, purified in the fire. I'm not a superhero. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm here to help you. Join me, men, in this fight. Break the chains of your mind. Let's do it now. For now is all we have. Fire for your mind. The Kosher Clinician.